Welcome to Checkered Flag e-streaming for the 2023 Australian Stock Car Championship here with the Weekend Warriors season. It is the Southwell 200 here at Phoenix, Arizona, and we are looking forward to this race. It's going to be a hot, tricky race out in the desert. I'm as ever Carl Wilkinson with you. Joining me up here in the commentary booth, I have Mr. Mark Johansson busy on the cameras. How are you going, Mark? And also joining me is Mr. Brad Allison.
Good evening, Carl, and good evening, Mark. Good to be with you both. An exciting opening round, and I've been looking forward to this all year.
No, absolutely. It should be good. And we should have Mr. Mark Johansson now as well. Mark, sorry, your mic was off just there, so hopefully we got you now.
Yeah, I was hearing Mark fine, Carl, so I'm not quite sure.
Just on the stream, that was.
Sorry, mate. I had the mic muted. Just trying to get some background things working, and it doesn't want to seem to work for me at the moment. So we're going to struggle a little bit until I can get it to work.
Well, that's not unusual for us guys to struggle, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Absolutely. Teething problems and little bits here and there, that's quite okay. What we might do quickly is just jump on board with a car, if we can, Mark. Just jump on an inboard of somebody so we can get a little bit of a look at this this tricky little 1.6 kilometre oval, of course, here at Phoenix. And we are on board with Mr. Brett Campbell with the Golden Octopus liveried Chevrolet. That's the one I'm looking for. Brad, of course, this track can be a bit tricky to get working sometimes.
Carl, it is ridiculously hard, this track. Some guys have a handle on it and other guys don't. I was talking to Ed Foster earlier, who's one of the best drivers in the country, and even he was saying he still struggles with this track at times. I've never liked it. I've never been able to get around here. I end up middle of the field, all the time, no matter how hard I try.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not everybody's favourite track, and one of the big things that can throw people out is that dogleg, of course.
Yeah, and they've switched that. For the people, I don't know if we've got new people who haven't seen it, but it used to be the start-finish line has now completely gone over to the other side of the track. So it used to be on the straight, the start-finish line, and now we've got the dogleg, which is actually the start-finish line. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, it really has made a difference for the racing here, of course. And with things like the restart zone, all these little bits and bobs on the track and these little changes, it's turned Phoenix into a very different track than we were used to a few years back.
Yeah, as I was saying, Carl, it's a different track. A little bit better, I think. With the cones and that, you can cut a little bit more of that dog's leg to make it a little bit easy. You've just got to be really careful when you're coming back onto that track, approaching turn one, that you just don't get back up, because you don't have the right of way when entering back onto the track once you've gone below that line.
Absolutely. We are looking at a pretty bumper field to start off the season. We've got 32 cars out there at the moment. We might see a couple more popping in here in the practice session as well, getting ready for this race. It's a fairly long old race as well, of course. It does take a lot out of you here, and as those laps go on, it can really tire you out. 196 laps, of course, 200 miles. It will really be a tricky one to get absolutely right, I think.
Yeah, I agree, Carl. It's a matter sometimes of what wears out first, the tyres or the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see, the track information here, as we say, track length 1.01 miles. That's 1.61 kilometres, I think, at the top of my head. It is it's going to be an interesting one, we could say that. We're looking probably about 90 laps of fuel on board these cars tonight. Big thing, though, is going to be tyres. That's going to be the real killer tonight.
Yeah, it always is, isn't it? Tyres, tyres, tyres nowadays. That's the first thing we look at the picture. How many sets of tyres have we got and how far have I got to go?
Yeah, for sure. And of course, tyre sets are limited. You got 4 sets for the evening. Start off with a set, and then you get 3 tyres you can change onto, of course.
Yeah, every driver will be looking to change those tyres, Carl. It's often possible, but obviously we don't want too many cautions straight up, but just get some fuel and settle down and get the nerves adjusted.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to catch anybody out as we jump on board here with Andrew Dyson, of course, last year's pole sitter. Will he take another pole position here? It's going to be interesting to see if he can snag that one.
Yes, well, last time, what time he set last year? I think it was 27.441 or something, Carl?
Exactly.
Yep.
Good memory there.
No, I went by memory. I had some notes. I was looking up last year's race to see what was going on. I wish I did have such a good memory.
Air temperature, we're looking at 25 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees track temperature, and that 41 degrees is going to be a killer tonight. Tyre temperature will be something you've really got to look out for, and that's one of the big things as well that's tricky to get used to in these cars. Sometimes you feel like the tyre is falling off the cliff, but it's actually not that worn out. It's just that temperature, and sometimes a little trip down pit lane to splash a little bit more fuel in there can let those tyres cool down and give you a chance in the race when it all goes back. 23 kilometres per hour in wind. We've got southeasterly direction, and that's quite a fair gust that can hit you, and that can really really unsettle the car as well. Through the dogleg and turns 3 and 4, that's going to be a really tricky one to get right.
I think the whole track is a tricky one to get right, Carl. It's really, in my opinion, one of the hardest track series on our series and circuit. That's not a road course.
No, absolutely. And well, as we said, it's going to be a long season as well. We've got many races to come here for the Weekend Warriors, which we're looking forward to, and a few of those road courses will be creeping up too, and that's going to be a very different thing to get used to. We've had a year of getting used to these new generation of Cup cars, and that's making things a lot easier now as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Carl. I think everybody's starting to get a little bit of a handle now, like you said, on what's happening and what's doing and how they're going to be and when they're going to go on and off. As I said, the big thing here tonight will be that dog leg. Once those tyres start to wear, your car can really get out of control if you take that dog leg wrong.
Yeah, always tricky indeed. So we're looking at Mark Smith at the moment in the Lucas Oil sponsored car, of course, title sponsor of the season. So big thank you to them and get them a little bit of airtime as well. We've got a few more minutes here of the practice session before we head into the big qualifying session, of course. And sometimes it's good to start on pole here at Phoenix because you can avoid that first lap incident if there is one.
Yeah, I totally agree, Carl. I think you want to try and be up front if you can, for sure. And I think we all know there's probably going to be some dramas, and it's best avoided.
That is it. 5th year of the Weekend Warrior Series as well. 5 years of great racing, and this year is stacking up to a great one. We've got about 75 people looking to come into the races this year. Of course, they won't be going to every single race, but that is a lot of drivers who are willing to compete this year. Phoenix, though, is one of those tracks that a lot of people are just they're willing to skip, I think.
And I don't blame them, Carl. As I said, if I was racing, I think I might be one of them. No, of course I wouldn't, but no, it is. As I said, just a very hard track. It's exciting.
Absolutely is. We just look at Maxi Marshall there. Mark, of course, you are the big honcho here for Weekend Warriors. You must be ecstatic with getting a 5th year underneath your belt.
Yeah, it's been a hard task to get to where we are, but I think we're in a pretty good place at the moment. We're evolving all the time. You know, we're working close with Ann's car and trying to work so we don't clash and we're not at the same track each week. And yeah, it's a bit of a turnaround for us. So what we've done this year is to change it up. Is use last year's original Cup season, but in reverse with a few things modified for our Anzac Cup, our Memorial Day Cup, this year we've also introduced a couple of specialty rounds, a superhero round and a Star Wars round. So looking forward to seeing what some of the guys can come up with paint-wise.
That will be exciting indeed. As we're going to be heading into qualifying soon, I'm going to leave that one to you and Brad, and hopefully we'll be joined soon as well by our special guest commentator for tonight. But I'll hand over the reins to you for a couple of moments, and we'll be heading into qualifying in a few moments' time.
Yeah, no
We'll
worries.
see you then, Carl.
Yep. So, Brad, just we'll go to turns 1 and 2, but we've got no one there at the moment. Some new cameras tonight, so we can see the wall cams and different things. We might go to the back stretch here, which is really kind of sort of the front stretch because it's out of 1 and 2.
That's correct. As I was just saying on the broadcast, Mark, it's all switched around from where it was.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely a strange one, and as we see Maxi come down and we lose it because we are now into qualifying.
Good luck all the drivers.
Looks like Lockie is out the first one. Yep. So Lockie's heading out to set his first time, and unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I am still having issues with our feed to the commentators. It doesn't want to go live.
It doesn't want to go live, and I am having that because I haven't even got the actual stream going, Mark, on the TV this time. But when Ed joined, we've got a special guest tonight, which I'll announce now. We've got Mr. Edward Foster joining us tonight, probably in about half an hour, or a little earlier. So when Ed gets here, I'll get up and make sure that I get that live stream up on my big TV.
Yep, we can see here Lockie just going down through the dog leg. Not quite the line he's probably wanting to take. It's, as we said, the track's a bit hot tonight, so we'll see what he can do with his first time.
Yeah, that track is exactly 100 degrees at the moment for Lockie, so he missed the line a little bit there, off 2, but not too bad. This will be the important one.
So he sets a time of 27.5 to start with, and that's his best, so he starts his second lap. We've got a lot of guys out there at the moment, but we can only see one car at a time, and so we'll just stick with him and see what he does.
Absolutely, Mark. If you switch to a different driver, let me know and I'll switch over on my computer so I can at least watch and see what you're calling.
Yep. So everything doesn't want to work for tonight.
Well, it's the first one of the season, isn't it? We're going to have a few hiccups. I'm sure the people can understand.
On board looking at Jamie Nankervis in the Black Arrows, and he's just finished his second lap, and he's way down in 20th, so it's not a good lap, not a great lap for him. Tristan Koch is out on his first lap, it's telling me, but it doesn't want to go to the car. Yep, there it is. A new team for Tristan this year, Aussie B Motorsport, proudly backed by VB, I believe it is, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. Tristan, of course, drove for me last year, but I'm not running a team this year. So Jamie's gone with the Black Arrows. Tristan has gone with the VB sponsor, I think, and Rubes has gone with the other team.
SRM Australia.
SRM it is. I don't know what that SRM stands for, Mark. Could you let me know?
No, I'm not sure myself.
I saw it as SRM, and I thought, what could that be standing for?
Super Ratty Maymond. It's a little bit of wordplay on Matty Ryder.
I've got some quick times up there. Daniel Heddersheet, 27.438. Wow. That's even quicker than Dyson of last year.
Yeah, of course. Different track temperatures, there's a slight improvement on the car as well. There's little things that get tweaked over the year. And the other thing as well, these drivers are a bit more used to driving this car as well. This Cup car is... it's become a little bit easier to drive, I think, for some drivers. It's evolved over the past year.
Yeah, it has, and there's been a few changes, like with the heights and that of different panels and that under the car, which has made it a little bit easier to drive. It's not quite dragging as much as it was when we were first given it, so that makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more traction and grip on the ground.
It does indeed, and I think we are joined by our special guest commentator tonight, Mr. Edward Foster. Edward, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad at all, guys. How are you?
Good, thank you. A pleasure to have you up here in the booth. Shame not to see you out on track, because we do enjoy watching you battle it out there week in, week out, but we'll not complain with having a bit of help up here for the commentary team.
No, looking forward to it, guys. I'm trying to back down the sim racing commitments a little bit this year, and so I won't be running in this series specifically. I'll be running in the 87 series that they're running Sunday nights. I'll definitely be in that. But yeah, just happy to come by and have a watch and sort of see what's what and see how everybody gets on.
Not a surprise to hear you jumping in the 87s. I do know you love that car. Of course, a few of your drivers out there, a few of your teammates out there, have got Daniel Hederscheid. He's currently up in pole position, so that's probably good news for the Atari team.
Yeah, he's always pretty good around here. He's definitely shown me a thing or two around this place. So, yeah, he'll be one to watch tonight. I can see that there's a few other dudes out there. Dicer, of course, everybody knows about him. He'll be one to watch. I believe that Darren McKenzie's out there as well, so he's going to be one to watch. So, plenty of guys are going to be in and around that lead pack. It's going to be fascinating to see who's able to do what.
Looking forward to it indeed. It is currently Hederscheid on pole with Dyson in second, Stevie Dubb and Toby Stent setting out the next couple of rows. We've got a minute and 40 seconds left here for qualifying. I think there's two drivers yet to set a lap here. Oh no, we're actually gridding up. Sorry, my timing screen was a little bit wrong there. Sorry about that. But we are gridding up now. So let's go through that starting order for you. So on row number 1, it is Daniel Hederscheid with Andrew Dyson setting out the front row. Row number 2 is Stevie Dubb with Toby Stent. On the third row, we've got Ruben Phelps and Lachlan Loquio and SRM Lockout. Adam Malone and Daniel Johnson line up on row number 4. Row 5, we've got Simon Headsheet and Jai Schultz. On the 6th row, we've got Bratka and Mackenzie. 8th row is Cheatham and Aidan Schultz. 9th row, we have May and Ariel. Row number 10 is Henderson and Clark. Row 11, we've got Drady and Raymond. 12th row is Wellman and Smith. 13th row, we have Fenley and Koch. 14th row is Campbell and Tompkins. Nankervis and Nathan Button row up on the 15th. 16th row, we've got Jordan and Saddington. And rounding out the grid, two drivers that didn't set a time but will be starting from the back is Maxie Marshall and Derek Jacobs tonight. So bumper field, we're looking forward to some good racing. And look, starting on pole does not necessarily give you a chance of winning, but it does mean that you're less likely to get caught up in those early lap incidents.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does. I mean, it's great to start up near the front in any of these races because, as you say, it does keep you clear of a little bit of that stuff. Phoenix, a bit of an interesting place. Of course, the season started off and people have been running Daytona and Auto Club and those faster tracks. So, of course, to come here to sort of a little one-miler, a little bit of a tricky sort of place as well because all the corners are different sort of profiles. You've got the dog leg there, which is able to be cut so much, which is brand new. Well, not brand new, but it's fairly new, and it's different. It's unique amongst the tracks. So, yeah, it's going to be a different challenge for these guys. They're going to have to reset themselves away from the super speedway and the fast track mindset and get themselves settled in on this smaller track. So, we'll see how they go.
Absolutely. As the pace car peels in here, we're coming up to the start-finish line. The green flag will be out. It's just the 5th year for the Australian Stock Car Championships with the Weekend Warriors season. Hederscheid and Dyson lining up on the front row here on Checkered Flag e-streaming. The green flag is about to drop and we're about to go live for our first race of 2023.
Okay,
green flag is out.
Yeah, just because they're in the restart zone, they have to get on the zone. So Hederscheid's going to dump real low through there. Most of them are actually going to dump real low because as the they're not at full speed yet, so of course the shortest way round is going to be the quickest way round, which is not always the case. But through this particular turn here, they're going through, it's a much flatter turn, and the outside can really run off well. That's actually a favourite move of mine, getting out there and around the outside, and Daiso's done that to great effect there, and it looks as though he's going to clear header shy. Just settled into the lead there in this early run.
Yeah, absolutely. Dyson is one of those drivers you've just got to always keep an eye on. He's very quick, and he just seems to be getting quicker and quicker. As we've got a car around in the background. A red car has gone around, and it is Aidan Schultz, and the caution flag flies, and a few cars collect him.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to get in something this early. It looks like he might have just been caught out by the cold tyres there. He qualified pretty well, pretty solid qualifying session, but he's just come across that dog leg, got a bit of a bounce. There's a pretty evil little bump down there in the middle of that, and he's done okay to sort of hold the brakes down and really get the thing sort of settled down. But yeah, look, I think it's just one of those things that, diminishing returns as far as each of the new cars, each car sort of comes on the scene, their reaction time factors into it. Looks like he's copped a little bit of a whack there. I think it might have actually been Fenley that touched him first off, although I can't see a great deal of damage on that car, so I think we'll see the guys involved in that come down, get a little bit of repairs, but these cars are pretty robust, so I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, Noddy Tompkins, Nathan Button involved in that with the secondary contact, and we did see a blue car as well of Jake Saddington just lose it there. Right front damage to Aidan Schultz there, so that's a painful one to happen this early. Brad, of course, damage early in a race is never fun, is it?
No, it's the last thing. If this race is not long enough, a damaged car makes it twice as long. But yeah, I think Mark Smith might have got a little piece of somebody also. So a little bit of damage. There's a couple of them apologising to each other on the car radios.
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see quite a few people coming through pit lane, and quite a few cars with just a little tiny bit of spot of damage on them, and hopefully that won't affect them too much in the long distance. Of course, when you get damage, small bits of damage to the car, the aero, things like that, it's not too much of a problem here at Phoenix, but once the suspension gets a little bit balked, that can be very painful indeed.
Yeah, I mean, the main aero issue that you tend to find is not so much something that's going to affect you in long run pace in short run pace, because it is very much a mechanical grip sort of circuit, lower average speed, that kind of thing. But where the car actually suffers is on the longer run, because the tyre is doing more of the work to actually generate that lap time. So it makes it really difficult for the tyre to actually hang on. You take more out of the tyre when you're not contributing to the overall grip of the car with the aero. So that's where you suffer. And that used to be a big problem with the Gen 6 car in particular, is that you would damage the car and everything would feel okay. But then once you got about 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 laps in, you'd find that the car started to really go away from you a lot more than anybody else. So this car, also very aero dependent, so we'll see how well the guys are able to get those cars patched back together and what kind of knock-on effects it has for them later on in the race.
Absolutely. Pace car pulling into pit lane now. Dyson's going to be leading away with Heddershide on the outside here, coming up to that restart zone. A little bit of a long journey here at Phoenix. Pace car pulls in, and then you've got a nice bit of straight to go along before we hit the restart zone. You'll see that just on the right side of your picture. In a couple of moments, you'll see the little Geico blue zone. The green flag will drop any moment now, and we'll go back to racing here at Phoenix, Arizona for the Southwell 200.
And they're 3 wide again already.
Yeah, obviously jostling for position a little bit early on. Everybody in this early stage of the race, everyone's sort of just looking for a little bit of real estate to use, a little bit of area that they can just kind of work in and get comfortable, get settled in. Of course, they barely got any chance before to actually get any laps under their belt. Stephen Williams there slotting into second place in behind his teammate Dyson. I think I'm right in saying they're the only 2 representatives of the DPR team here in this particular race. Of course, there's a lot of them that really get into their oval racing quite heavily. They get involved in everything across the Australian iRacing landscape, of course. But I think there's only the 2 representatives here tonight, and they are running first and second, just holding out Daniel Heddershide there on the outside. And we've got one coming around the bottom. I think it is. It's Adam Malone who's just running that low line. Big cut of the dog leg there for everybody on the bottom. As they try and just get a nice run there. And Williams looks like he's going to send it down the inside of Dyson. Dyson not too concerned about that at this stage in the race. And we're going to see the veteran, Stevie Dove, running up front. Great.
Absolutely. Stevie Dove got a lot of starts underneath his belt. He is he's a stalwart on the Oval Series as well, and he's one of those drivers that you always have to keep an eye out for because he's very, very good on any track we go to, really. But he's got that sort of that veteran ability to know where to keep the car and just keep it out of trouble as well. And he's absolutely launching away at the moment. He's built up about a half a second gap over Malone in these first couple of laps, and he's running away like a scalded dog at the moment.
And just one guy I'd like to chat about a little bit, because the reason I do this is I don't actually know a great deal about him. I look up and down the field, I know most of the guys there, but I don't really recognise the guy who's sitting there in P3, Daniel Johnson. I'm imagining he's a fairly recent comer to the series, but he's running up there in P3 right now, looking pretty good. It looks like he's basically come in new for the year, and he's running right up there. So that's really good to see as well. Somebody to come and shake up the establishment a little bit.
Yeah, we always love to see newcomers to the Oval Series and any of the leagues that we are affiliated with. And it's great to have somebody jump it in and be quick. It's always a fun thing to see. And it's encouraging to see as well, because we love to have competition. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that the orange car sitting behind him, the 41 of Andrew Dyson, was very much a rookie, an unknown quantity. And look at how much of a mark he's made across all the different series.
Yeah, I miss those days when he was a rookie and he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it?
Made it a lot easier for all the rest of us. But yeah, certainly become a very serious competitor as time has gone on. And, he's certainly with the right team to help him do that as well. You know, one of his teammates, Neil Pearson, he's, knows a huge amount about NASCAR racing and really... was really able to, I believe, probably help him along with that a little bit. And, his ability's done the rest. So he's, good job. We're actually hitting the lap traffic already. It looks like the number 96 there on the outside, that might be Jake Saddington. And I know a little bit about Jake. I know he's very, very competent on the road side of things, but dropping a lap down early, not what he'd want, but at the same time it's also not the end of the world, because certainly you can recover from being a lap down if the cautions fall in your favour. So nothing too bad for him, but he looks as though he's probably just, it doesn't look overly comfortable out there right now, but we'll see what he's able to muster later on in the night.
Yeah, he's got quite a little bit of right front damage after taking a big smack to the wall, avoiding the earlier incident. That one caution flag coming out, so he's just getting the car back up to speed, hoping probably for another caution to drop down pit lane, get some extra repairs done maybe to that car, and get back out there for a few more laps. And of course, getting those laps in is important today, where there isn't the hugest turnout for the series. We say there isn't a huge turnout. We've still got 32 cars out there, which is a fantastic job. But Phoenix, as I say, one of those tracks where people tend to avoid a little bit. It's like a road course. Not everybody is comfortable. So it's a good chance to get some early points on the board and get a relatively good finish, even if you are a lap or so down.
There's something just going on with Noddy Tompkins at the moment. He sat there in pit lane, and the car is just sort of stationary there, but it looks to be spinning the rear wheels, but it's not going anywhere. So I don't know if you guys can see that same thing as well, or whether it's just something that's showing for me, but that's very, very weird.
I think it may be a your end bug.
It looks very, very strange to me. Spun me out. But it looks as though Aiden Schultz has actually decided not to persevere with that damage, and he's dropped away. And I don't think that Derek Jacobs took the start at all. So we've got about 3 cars out of contention already. But looking back to the front of the field, Stephen Williams, Adam Malone, Daniel Johnson running there in a lead trio. Mackenzie, who had such a promising run the other night at Auto Club, before getting involved in a little bit of contact and making what I think is going to be one of the saves of the year, keeping that car straight. And he's just leading Russell Bradker. Now, Bradker's a rookie this year as well as far as the Australian scene is going. He's an American. He's running in the, I don't know what kind of ungodly hour he's up, but he's running there with SRM. And running around, and he's at the actually, I hadn't seen too much of him yet in terms of he'd been running sort of, he'd been in the races, but I hadn't seen too much of him sort of getting up there towards the front. But here he is running there in P5. Looks every bit as fast as Mackenzie in front of him, and really looks to be doing a solid job. So that's great to see as well. Another new face doing well.
Absolutely. I've seen Bracker out a couple of times last year. Just a couple of series. He's sort of sporadically coming across, but I think it's about midnight to about 2 a.m. over in the States at the moment. So it is a horribly early hour. So good on him for staying awake. It's not easy to do. We've got another international driver, so to say, another driver in a different spot, and that's Toby Stent, of course, over in Japan, the Kiwi over in that part of the world. And he's having a good run up there in P8 at the moment. We've seen quite a promising start from Toby, and he's been having some good runs throughout the beginning of this year.
Yeah, Toby's been great. You know, we've signed him on board for Natari, obviously, as far as the ASCC series goes. And he is sporting an Atari logo on that car as well, as his own M2SR that he's got going on there. But he's sort of running more by himself, doing his own paint schemes and those kind of things for this series. But he's been a great addition. You know, he's been really good. You know, he's got that real competitive streak. He's, you know, he can't. It's almost like, you know, when we're working on setups and, you know, those kind of things. You know, he's always the one who's sending you a message at 2 a.m. saying, "Oh, what if we tried this?" You know, he's definitely got that competitive streak in him, and that's, you know, one of the reasons why we brought him on board. So I think he's going to be great. Obviously raced in this particular series on and off last year, part-time, and had some impressive performances in that, and has more than justified our bringing him on. So very happy with that signing.
Okay, just looking back here, Maxi Marshall. Possibly something's just happened to him. You have to forgive us as we don't have our normal live pictures from Mark here tonight, so we're relying on his voice a little bit more than usual.
Yeah, that car looks okay though. The 08 looks as though it's still sort of may have actually had a bit of a touch on the inside wall, but I think he's okay. Seems to be running around, seems to have recovered. It doesn't look like there's anything critically wrong with that car at the moment. So yeah, he's just moving up on the back of Saddington now. He's keeping nice and high out of his way. There's a few guys actually out there, just looking back at the front of the field. Williams continuing to lead, of course, but there's a few guys who are a little bit further down than I'd expect to see them. Norman Clark's one of those. He's down there in 26th position at the moment. I know he's normally a long game type of guy, but I'd expect not to see him quite that low. Then looking up, you know, we've got Kobe Jordan one position ahead. He's normally a bit quicker than that. You'd expect him to see him a little bit further up the order. And, you know, if we sort of look down, we've got guys like Fenley who's down there in 20th position. I'd expect to see him move forward. Matty Ray's had a bit of a rough start to this year, actually. He's down there in 17th position, and he's won races before, so he's absolutely no slouch, but he's just running a little bit lower than you'd expect at the minute. Mankervis is another one running there in P16 that I'd expect to see a little bit more out of as the night goes on. But that being said, you know, we've got some guys who are potentially unexpected running right up there. Daniel Johnson, we mentioned. Russell Bradker, we mentioned. But, you know, let's look at guys like Simon Heddershide running there in 10th position. We got Cheatham there in 11th. You know, I think Josh Schultz has actually just gone around. He has, yeah, caution out. Caution. Oh, and he's just been T-boned. That's
collected there by Adam Ariel. That was a big hit.
Yeah, just looking at Jai, he's just basically put a wheel on the flat there, and that's kind of got the air under the car, unsettled it, and around it's gone. But, I mean, he's been absolutely T-boned there. He was there for a long time before Ariel came along. And he's just been absolutely mauled. And Tompkins in it as well. You know, he's got moving again after being in the pits for that long. And, you know, managed to be in it as well. So that makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everyone's coming down the pit road now as well. So looking back at the lead, we've got Stephen Williams coming down. We've got the teammates Malone and Mackenzie in. Just having a look to see where Daniel Johnson is. He has actually stayed out. Yeah, so Daniel Johnson has stayed out on his own. Absolutely everybody else has come down the pit lane. And Johnson out there alone. So he's going to take the lead of the race, but he's going to do so on some old tyres as well.
Yeah, that's something you've got to be a little bit cautious of on the restart, of course, the slightly older tyres. But 28 laps in at the moment, we've still got a long way to go. So having a fresh set of boots up your sleeve is probably a wise decision. I think a few drivers as well just deciding to take right side only or just a bit of fuel. Stevie Dubb, Ruben Phelps and Dyson. Some of those drivers, they don't look like they've changed tyres on the timing screen. Just going to have a little look back and see if I can spot anything in their pit stops. And Andrew Dyson, one of those drivers that definitely did not take tyres. Ruben Phelps as well, another one of those drivers just taking fuel. So a few drivers just popping in just to take fuel, a few drivers popping in to take tyres. This is going to mix everything up quite a bit, I reckon.
What do you think of that move, Brad? What do you think? We've got a few guys, one guy out there decided not to take any tyres at all, and we've got a couple of other guys out there who just decided to take the two. What's your feeling on it?
At the moment, Ed, I think if I was going to roll a dice, I'd probably go with no tyres, only because I'd be quite confident that there's going to be another caution, and I would have then a set of tyres up my sleeve. I would expect, obviously, to drop back, and I'd be really fighting for that lucky dog, but that'd be fine. So they've got 4 sets, Ed, so like normally with 100 laps, we'd say, 25 sets, but you really want to finish that last 10 laps with a fresh set of rubber on, as like in your league if another caution comes out late.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I understand that. I mean, it is quite a long race. It's 196 laps. We are only 29 laps into the event at the moment. And, yeah, it's almost like the point that caution fell, just trying to speak from a driver's perspective. Like, it's almost like nothing feels like the right call. No matter what you do, it doesn't feel right. Like, you'd expect there to be more cautions in the race. A big part of this game is guessing when the last caution's going to be. So, yeah, it makes it a little bit difficult to actually predict. I'm having a look back there as well. I can see Brick Campbell's car. It doesn't even look like it's got a number on it, so it makes it kind of difficult to pick out, but it is that gold one sitting there in third position as well as they go 2 by 2. Coming around for the restart now. So we're going to have a good mix of guys on fresh tyres, guys on old tyres, guys on 2 good and 2 old tyres. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a mix-up here at the start, and I would not be surprised at all to see another caution.
Cautions breed cautions, Ed, don't they?
That's what I've heard.
Absolutely, yeah. A constant saying by me, but also pretty much the rest of the world when they're commentating the old cautions breeding cautions thing. It is really something you've got to keep an eye out for, because cars on fresh tyres, cars on old tyres, cars on different strategies, it really mixes up the field. And I think on this restart, it's going to be very different indeed, as you've got those cars with nice, warm, sticky tyres out there, then some cars with some slightly warm, sticky left side tyres, and then probably some slightly worn out right side tyres as we go back to green flag racing now.
Yeah, they're all away, and Johnson's made an absolute play. He's just gone and he's dived straight down to the infield there. He wanted to make absolutely sure that nobody was going to move up on him in that first part of the lap. But as you can see now, Mackenzie's clawed it all back and more, and you're going to see him make a move for the lead sooner rather than later. And I think that at the point that Johnson sort of gets pushed offline, because Mackenzie's going to get down that inside at some point, and at the point that Johnson isn't able to take his ideal line, he's going to get absolutely hung out by the group on the new tyres. Just having a look, Bradker.
Oh, big wreck in the background!
What do we say?
Huge hit there for...
what we said, isn't it, guys?
Huge hit there for Ross
Nankervis.
Cheetham.
Nankervis is in it. I can see that much. Just trying to actually dissect a little bit what's gone on there. But, oh, yeah, Cheatham's had a big one, hasn't he? And he's bounced off the outside. Well, what happened there?
That was bizarre.
How did he get so far out of line?
It looks like the car's just snapped to the right-hand side. That is...
Oh, he's got loose. He's got a tank slapper sort of halfway through the dog leg there, I think. Very, very early on to have that happen. And he's kind of overcorrected, which is something that can happen. Like a lot of guys, when they first come into the oval side of series, and I don't know Ross's background, to be absolutely fair to him, But it looks as though that the temptation is to overcorrect, and he looks as though he's overcorrected, gone into the outside there. It looks as though he may have even gone over Urquio's.
Yeah, he landed on Urquio's roof.
Boot lid. And tagged Nankervis as well and spun him around. Nankervis has collected Matty Ray, although that looks like a light bit of contact. So I don't think there's going to be too much damage to either Nankervis or Matty Ray, but certainly the front suspension really badly deranged there on Cheatham's car. That's bad. And Daniel Johnson has decided to come down the lane. He is definitely taking tyres. I see Ruben Phelps coming in as well, and he is taking tyres. So a couple of guys coming down. Who else have we got coming down? Looks like a few more. Looks like who's in the gold car again without the number on?
That is Brett Campbell.
Brett Campbell, the 015. Yep.
Yeah, we've got Campbell and we've got Kobe Jordan come down as well. So only a few takers down there, but that's going to leave Darren McKenzie. Oh, no, sorry, Darren McKenzie's actually there. No, he is leading. He's behind Gary Wellman, who is a lap down. We've got McKenzie, Williams, Bradker, Tompkins, who is actually a couple of laps down there in front of Stent. So those lap cars are going to either get waved around or move to the rear.
Yeah, that's a good point that Mark just said in the background. Don't forget that they do have to try and finish 50% of the race to score some points in this, so it's some incentive to get some repairs done and get back out there and try and keep it as clean as possible for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to, when you fall out of contention, you might not be in contention for the win, but there's several guys there at the moment who are only 2 laps down. There's going to be 2 more cautions in this race. So, guys can work their way back up onto the lead lap without too much of an issue. We've got a few guys who are in a bit of trouble. Noddy Tompkins there, of course, running last at the moment of the guys who are still running, and he's 21 laps off the pace. And Jai Schultz as well is still in pit lane getting some repairs. It looks like that T-bone really messed him up, and he's 7 laps down now. So it's going to be a long road back from him, but there's absolutely no reason to drop it at the moment. Nathan Bunton just coming down the pit lane as well. He is one of those guys 2 laps down. Looks as though he may have just taken a quick top off. Bit of damage on that car as well, so we'll see what he's able to muster as the race goes on.
Tell you what, the luckiest driver out of that moment was Lachlan Urquio, and it's very rare we call Lachlan Urquio lucky. It tends to be the opposite way around for him, but we saw Chatham land just pretty much on his roof and then his boot lid, and his car was pretty much unscathed from that. Very lucky to not have a lot more damage on that thing than he received.
Yeah, it was a big landing, wasn't it? But I mean, I don't think that's actually one of the cars that. One of the parts of the car, I should say, that iRacing really models as far as damage goes. He's kind of landed on the boot lid. I don't think there's a lot of modelling that goes into that.
I don't think they expect cars to be landing on your roof.
Well, no, I don't think they do. So, you can almost do what you want. It's like having a car land on your roof. The roofs of these sim cars don't really take a whole lot in the way of damage. So, he's probably lucky about the area that it actually hit him.
Absolutely, as we're about to go back to green flag racing here. Lap 36, 106 to go here for the Southwell 200 here for the Lucas Oil Australian Stock Car Championship. And up the front, we've got Darren McKenzie leading away here, leading the charge. He's one of those drivers that I think may have just taken fuel only. No, I think he didn't come. Sorry, I'm just looking at my times. I think he may have taken tyres in the last one. I'm just going back to have a bit of a look-see at that as we get back to green flags here. So Darren McKenzie came through pit lane the first time round, but he didn't actually stop. So he's been down pit road, but he's not taken any tyres or fuel. So he's on the starting tyres, whereas we've got people behind him like Russell Bracker, who's on a fresh set of boots completely. Stevie Nubbert, who's just on the old set, just taking fuel. Now having Toby Stent just fly past him. I think those fresh tyres are starting to switch on.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, we've got that big battle for the lead at the moment. Bradker just sent it down the inside of Mackenzie. And let's not forget, Mackenzie was champion of this series a couple of years ago, the 2021 season champ of this particular series. So, he knows what he's about. He knows how to run this series. He knows how to run against most of these guys. And he's made a strategy call here. It might not be the one that's good for him right now, but he's thinking about the long game. He's thinking about not now. He's not that interested in now. We're looking at 140 laps in the future right now. So,
Bracker absolutely flying out there now. Fastest car on track, also setting the best lap so far as well. So watch out for Bracker as well. He could be in. He's absolutely flying at the moment, as we can see. Mackenzie's falling back now, plummeting as the tyre. I think the tyre strategies are starting to really show now. Those guys on fresh boots are really pushing ahead.
Yeah. Looks as though Nathan Button may have actually clipped the inside wall there on the main straight, but I think he's going to leave it on and fight another day there. We'll see how that actually turns out. But just sort of talking about Mackenzie's call there, you got to remember, the fresh tyres, the guys who take absolutely fresh tyres, they've kind of almost got this God mode when you're on brand new fresh tyres. And of course, somebody who's on used tyres is going to drop a few spots in those early laps. But the more the laps go on, the more that starts to even out. We're probably not going to see Mackenzie drop all the way to the back of the pack. After 4 or 5 laps or so, that's going to even out, and he's going to be able to settle in sort of mid-pack or something like that, and probably start to at least, not surpass, but good enough match the times of the leaders. And he's got another tyre set in the shed. So despite the fact it looks like he's falling back quickly now, he'll be okay. He'll settle in, and he'll settle into the mid-pack, and we'll see how it plays out.
As we're looking at Kobe Jordan right here, and it's having a reasonable run up there. It's currently in 20th.
Yeah, he's having a decent one. We just got Daniel Johnson. It looks as though he's sort of working his way through. Remember, he came down and got some fresh boots, so he's going to be working his way back up the field as well. Just have a look sort of up through the field as Mackenzie just continues to drop positions at the moment. Looks as though Andrew Dyson's going to be the next one to go past him. He's been a little bit quiet so far, Dyso, and you always need to be a little bit concerned when he's not up there making noise, because it just means that he's kind of sitting back and thinking about stuff, and it's it come the last 20 laps, all of a sudden there he will be. But at the moment, he's just sort of working his way past Mackenzie. It looks like he's going to take that 8th place away. But, certainly the difference between Mackenzie's car and the cars around him is not as great as it was in the opening laps of this stint after going green. So that car's starting to settle down and kind of move in to the kind of performance window, I suppose, that all the other cars are running in. So that'll even out, as we said.
Absolutely. Adam Malone now, the 7 stars entry, the number 3, is moving up nicely. He's just got up into P2. And he is charging along at the moment. And, still probably fastest car on track is Bratko. He's pulled out a 2.5 second lead over Malone. Malone is trying to close that gap now, though.
Yeah, I mean, Bradker's flying out the front there. He's put a 2.2 second gap on the entire field. And I just wonder how much of his tyre he's actually using, because there's no magic in this business. There's nothing sort of going on. Like, if you're going faster, you're using more fuel and you're using more tyres. So if he's checking out the way that he has done, sure, it's been helped a little bit by the fact that guys are battling and they're running side by side and pushing each other offline. But once they settle out, he's going to be taking a bit out of his car to run the pace that he's running. And he's taken another 2 tenths out of Malone that lap. Let's see what it is this time coming around, because I can only imagine as the laps sort of roll on. We've been under green for a little bit now, but we'll see what actually happens as, we're kind of getting into the sort of 10, 11 lap under green territory. That car's probably going to start to protest at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Yeah, you can see the difference here. It is really, he's really pushing it at the moment. He is just so much faster than the rest of the field. As you said, Ed, it's only a matter of time before it starts to sort of even out almost. And well, you imagine Malone's going to start eating away at Bratka's lead very shortly.
Yeah, but he hasn't yet, has he? Like they've been. It's not like Malone's been battling with anybody. So, he's got to be taking life out of those tyres. He's absolutely flying. Unless he's got some kind of superior technique to everybody else. And it'd be remarkable to say that, given the talent up and down the field. That, he's got to be taking more out of that car. He's got to fade at some point, the way that he's running.
Starting maybe a little bit now, 28.845 for Bratka last time, 28.0 for Malone. So maybe we're starting to see that bounce back happening now, and him paying a little bit of a price for that early pace.
I thought I'd mention as well just the header shots. They're sitting there in 4th and 5th at the moment, a second between them at the last count. Daniel ahead of Simon, sitting there, the 035, the 053. They've got the right digits in the numbers at the very least. It looks as though Heddershire just starting to make a little bit of inroads on Toby Stent, who's sitting there in 3rd position. I'm not sure whether or not these guys are going to fight tooth and nail at this stage of the race, being only 52 laps into it. But Heddershire seemingly got a decent turn of pace in that 035 at the minute. And the gap to the leader is coming down.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's dropping very quickly. 2 tenths taken out of Bratka's lead last lap alone. So we're starting to see the change here happening. And a few cars are sort of lighting up the timing screens in the midfield as well. A few people just starting to get a bit of a charge on. And they're starting to settle into that rhythm as well, that all-important rhythm, as we've had quite a few laps now with the green flag out. Although Bratka has still got pace in that car. He just set a 28.5 over 28.7 for Malone.
Just having a look as well, I think something may have happened to Daiso the last few laps. He's down in 13th place there, which represents around about a 5-position drop from where he was sat when we were sort of looking at him overtaking Mackenzie. It just looks as though he's dropped a handful of positions. I'm not sure exactly why. Just sort of going back, having a look at his last few laps. It could just be the guys on new tyres coming through, but it's unusual to see him drop that many positions that quickly. So, I'm sure he's just running his own race and he's just sort of balancing the car and, only taking out of the car what he feels he can take out of it at this stage. But it's unusual to see him fall as far back as P12. You don't see that very often.
Look who's around him. There's Stevie Dubb and Jamie Nankervis just ahead of him. Those 2 cars, I believe, did not take tyres in the earlier stages. So
we got one. The gold.
It is Brett Campbell.
Campbell, yeah, he's gone in on the. Looks as though he's just gone into that outside wall there. It's just pushed up and wide.
Yeah.
It's broke loose and he's just... Oh, how lucky was he missing Tompkins there?
Yeah, that was so close.
He's just gone straight to the outside wall, bent up that suspension. We're still green though, aren't we? That hasn't brought the caution out. So he's going to have to go to pit road and the numberless car is going to be in there for repairs.
It's a shame. I've been working a little bit with Brett, and for some reason the number's not showing up tonight for an unexplained reason.
It's not unexplained. It's the way trading paints works.
Yeah. It was just working the other day though. That's where I'm trying to figure it out myself. Mark Smith just had a very close call himself as he got loose coming across the start-finish line. He just missed the end of pit road wall by a matter of, not even millimetres. There was nothing in there. It was absolutely, I think, just rubbing the paint there as he went across the pit exit wall. And
Bradker's starting to pull out on Malone again. It was sort of down to around about 2.1 and sort of coming in. And now it's back out to 2.7. I'm not sure if while we were looking around at all the other cars and all the other various pieces of action going on, whether we missed something happening with Malone, but that gap has come back out and is sitting there. Stent still leading Heddershire. So they're not sort of making inroads at the moment either. Bradker's like, yeah, he's lost a little bit of time this time around, but he's sort of negotiating traffic and everything like that. But, I mean, it doesn't look as though he's really the pace in that car's falling off as quick as we might have expected.
No, he's definitely on it at the moment, Bradker. He is really setting great pace around the field. And a couple of the SRM boys are setting similar paces throughout the field. Looking at Ruben Phelps and Lachlan Okwio, those two very close to each other. And teammates, of course, to Bradker. And it looks like that team may have just figured something out about this track, maybe getting a bit of information from each other as they come along. And they're having a great race. Okwio's battling with Johnson at the moment. The 42 and the 44 are battling out on track side by side at the moment.
Well, they're not side by side, mate. I think you might be looking on a replay at the minute because Okwio is actually a good 5 or 6 car lengths clear of Johnson at the moment.
Yes, I was a lap back. Sorry about that.
It does happens to the best of us. As you can see by how quickly I identified it, I am well practiced in doing that exact mistake. So no issues there at all whatsoever. And we're just looking at Ruben Phelps is actually gaining a little bit on the back of Simon Hedderscheid. Simon's sitting up there in P5. Ruben looks as though he's fairly intent on trying to actually take that away from him. 2.6 seconds, still the gap out there to the front. It's sort of hovering around about 2.6, 2.7. Malone not making massive inroads, and Malone actually right now has fallen into the clutches of Stent and Hedderscheid, which kind of suggests that Stent and Hedderscheid probably running a little bit faster than the leader Bradker, because that gap between 1 and 2 is fairly stagnant. And then, of course, you've got P3 and P4, which are catching P2, which suggests that they're probably running as the quickest guys on track at the moment.
And Lockie's just got around his teammate, Ruben Phelps.
So the battle of SRM is going on, as we heard from Brad there. Like those two really moving along quite well. And Ruben's he's dropped back a bit, actually.
Yeah, Johnson's just passed Ruben as well,
Yeah.
So maybe Ruben's car just starting to fade off a little bit. Stent Hedderscheid just cleared Malone. And they pulled the lead down to 2.4, just under 2.4, running there together. So now we're going to see, as we've got one going down the pit lane, a whole bunch of mess and smoke and crap everywhere. I think that was actually Noddy Tompkins locking the tyres up as he came down pit road. A horrible night for him. He's sitting there 23 laps down at the minute. So, rough night for the 80 car.
Yeah, a bit of a night to forget there for Tompkins, and just sideways down pit lane, creating a big load of smoke and causing us to quickly ping there and think, what was going on there? But luckily, not going to be bringing out a caution. Malone is definitely dropping off now. He's starting to sort of plateau a little bit with the pace, but still setting good time is Bradker. His last lap round was about 0.2, about a tenth faster than Toby Stent, so he's still got pace in that car. The 25 is looking really good here tonight, as he's currently on about 40 laps into his stint as well. So, 40 laps into a stint on those tyres, he's still getting some great pace out of them.
Yeah, he's got some pace. I mean, I think ultimately Stent and Hedderscheid are probably a little bit faster. They did hit traffic on those last couple of laps, so they're working their way through that. But at the same time, Bradker busted out after that pace car and has just sort of taken off and built that lead, and he's not really hemorrhaging it with all the work he put in. And as hard as he worked those tyres and everything to get out to that lead, he's not really suffering in terms of, he's not hemorrhaging massive amounts of time. So he's doing a great job there out front. And perhaps, it's just dipped down under 2 seconds, just gone to 1.9 seconds the gap. So it is coming down by a couple of tenths a lap. But I'll tell you what, not a bad signing from Matty Ray at all, this American.
As we're jumping on board with Daniel Hedderscheid now and getting a bit of a view on board with the cars, and we'll enjoy a little bit of onboard action here and get to listen to this car giving us a good couple of laps here at Phoenix.
It's an interesting thing to watch both lines of these two guys, Bradker and Heddersheed. We've got Heddersheed, about half a car width off the bottom, and we've got Bradker running a good 1.5 to 2 car widths off that bottom line through 1 and 2. It's quite interesting to see the difference in the drivers.
I still can't get around that corner being 1 and 2. For those who don't know, this track's actually been reconfigured and the start-finish line is in a completely different end of the track to where it used to be. And in my mind, that's still 3 and 4, but it's very much 1 and 2. But I just can't get around it for whatever reason. The pit lane's in the wrong spot and it messes with my head completely.
Always the trouble when you. Oh, Bradker loses it! Big! He hits the wall.
Pancaked onto the wall.
Oh well, that's put paid to that, hasn't it? And he's gonna have to go to pit road. He's gonna have to go to pit road.
He's no caution flag flight. Huh? So I think Mark's
going to reclaim the car.
This one.
Yeah, he's just lost the back end. Simple as that. He's been pushing pretty hard, as we mentioned. Obviously taking the best out of those rear tyres. You get down onto the flat in that dog leg and all of a sudden you haven't got the banking holding the car up anymore. And it's just, they've just cried enough.
Flag out, so that's going to really help.
Crash out of turn 3 and 4. Didn't see who was involved in that, but I saw a lot of cars Stevie Dub is involved in that one. He's pointing the wrong direction still. Himself, Stevie Dub's got on the apron.
Yeah, he lost the arse end of that before he's actually hit the apron. It's kind of directed him onto the apron. It's unfortunate that Kobe and Kocher got involved in that. But, you see the back end of that car actually start to come around, and he's kind of tried to use the apron to give himself a little bit of leeway to catch it. Spun all the way out. But as you mentioned, Brad, that's really going to help Bradker. That couldn't have come at a better time for him.
The gods are on his shoulders tonight, Ed.
Yeah, they are. I mean, he's just made that mistake, damaged the car, and he's tried to soldier on, but those crash cars are only just recovering.
It looked like Stevie Dub could not get the car flick spinned. It took him a while to get it back around the right direction.
I agree, but we're going to see Stent lead Heddersheid, Bradker and Malone down the pit road now. Just looking at these guys coming in, Bradker is probably going to want to repair the damage on the front of that car. It took a good old whack. Like, I understand these cars are fairly robust, but even so, there's a fair amount of damage on the front of that car, and he's probably going to would be best served actually allowing the virtual crew to sit there and try and take that one up as best as possible, because he's not going to... I mean, just looking at the location of the damage as well, there's a fair chance it's actually not the steering out of whack. But you know what? He hasn't stayed there trying to get that thing patched up. He's just taken fuel and tyres and off he's gone. So he obviously thinks that car's okay.
He was stationary for about 4 seconds longer than the rest of the field, about 20 seconds in his pit box. So maybe just a quick slap of the old 100 mile per hour take on the car, and away it goes. So good news for him. This is perfect timing for those guys that didn't take tyres last time round, though. They're going to be able to slap a new set of tyres on there. They've got an extra set up their sleeve as well. This is going to be fantastic for them, as Bradker is coming down pit lane again, possibly.
Yeah, it looks like he might be just trying to avoid dropping off the lead lap, come down, get a whole bunch of that stuff fixed. Maybe he's even listened to the broadcast. We're sitting there saying, it's looking a bit average for him, so maybe he's going to come down and have another swing at that. But left up the front there, Toby Stent is now in the lead from Heddersheid. Ruben Phelps... everything's just updating. Stent, Heddersheid, Malone, Simon Heddersheid, Urquio, Daniel Johnson, Nankervis, Smith, Dyson, and Henderson are your top 10.
Absolutely. Another one of the SRM cars, Brendan Henderson, up there as well. It's not a few SRM cars in the group, of course, but Henderson's been having a quiet drive tonight, and he's got his team leader, Matty Ray, just behind him. Watch out for those two cars in the latter stages of these races. We know Matty Ray is good at working his way through the field, and Henderson up there with him will be helpful indeed. But they've got a few cars in the top 10 at the moment, with Urquio up there as well. Ruben Phelps dropped down a fair few spots, and he's coming back in pit lane again. I think he's needing to possibly get some... I don't think he's got any damage. I think he might just be coming down to top up, maybe. I'm just going back to double check that one.
Yeah, I can't see a lot wrong with that car either. So perhaps he's sort of doing his sums and he's realising where he's sort of at as far as fuel, etc. So he's like, you know what, I was sort of running around 17th anyway, which is where he was when he came in here. You might be going, hey, you know what, I'll drop another 4 or 5 positions, drop to the back of the lead lap pack, but I'm going to have a fuel advantage and be able to do something with that. But I've just actually looked at, did he even stop as he came down pit road there?
Did.
He did.
Well, he did.
Okay.
No, he did last time, sorry, but this time, I'm just double checking actually, because, yeah, it's an odd one. It's sort of a bit strange there.
Anyway, whatever. We're about to go green again. So we've got Stenton Heddershide leading the front from Malone and Simon Heddershide. Daniel and Simon there on the outside. So big advantage here for the inside pole car. In the restart zone, he can pretty well go when he likes, and he's got the advantage of being able to really chop that dog leg as well. So I imagine we're going to see Stent get away pretty well here, and he actually gets away really well. No communication going on that restart between the erstwhile teammates, and looks as though Malone might be sneaking a bit of a look up the inside of Heddershide as well.
Dyson was very aggressive on the start, but I think he might have he's dropped down to the apron again on...
No, he's just tried it on. Yeah. He's just tried it on.
He's tried it, yeah.
Yeah. You can actually use that flat a little bit, and he might be thinking on the fresh rubber he might be able to make some spots. And I think potentially he was just testing that out for a little bit later in the race, that's all.
Yeah, getting an idea there. Yeah,
oh, he got a big tank slapper coming across the dog leg, though. I reckon running down there on the flat, he managed to heat those tyres up, and he's come down to cut the dog leg, and the thing's kicked this way and that way and everything, and that would have given him a wake up, that's for sure.
That cast control that we've seen with Dyson a few times coming into play there, because that was a moment where I think we all took a deep breath as that happened.
Yeah, I mean, he's a drifter in real life. He raced drifting in real life, so he's got a Holden Ute that he drifts in. So, yeah, he's more than comfortable with a sideways car, mate. Don't you worry about that.
And well, I hear Tom Stent as well. He's quite good at the old drifting as well, apparently.
Yeah, he does a bit of that. Of course, he lives in Japan. He's actually from New Zealand originally, lives over there in Japan. I believe he's very much involved in the running of a business that imports, exports cars, performance cars, those kind of things, and does a bit of drifting as well, a bit of track work and things. So, he's well versed in the real life stuff, as many of these guys actually are. There's lots of guys on iRacing who, even at an amateur level, have done very, very well. But just having a look here, we've got Malone. He's banging doors with Simon Heddershide there. Simon Heddershide holding the outside.
Round goes Johnson.
Johnson and Dyson have got together.
Oh, okay. Well, Johnson's recovered. It looks as though the caution's out. Johnson has recovered. But, okay. It looks as though Dyso's gone right into the back of Daniel Johnson there.
That was one hell of a save from Johnson. That was incredible, but it just missed the exit of pit lane, and got it the right direction as well. And luckily, nobody collected him from behind.
Yeah, I'm just watching it. Dyson is apologising on the radio, taking responsibility for it, but I'm just kind of looking at it. It's always difficult on the iRacing replays to really get a good sense of what everyone's doing with the throttle and everything like that. But Dyso did stay connected to the back end of that 44 for quite a long time before it finally went around. So, but it's I'm not saying for a second that there was any intent behind it, but that's not really Dyso's style. But certainly they did stay connected for a long time before Johnson finally went around. But there's no damage on the car, and he's rejoined, so everything's sort of okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll come back from it.
Oh, that's it. I mean, he was very lucky to avoid pit exit there, and he's going to be able to recover from that one. Tyres will probably be a little bit warmer after that, but caution flag is out, so everybody will get temperature back down. I've seen Ruben Phelps, Bratka, and Jordan dart into pit lane.
Sorry, just to cut you off. We've actually got down the medical centre the number 24, Ross Cheatham. He is out of the race by the looks of it. We might actually just drag him up for a quick chat and see what he's got to say about the race. Number 24, Ross Cheatham. Welcome to the commentary box. A little bit earlier probably than we wanted to be seeing you here, but just come out of the care centre down there. Looks like you're out of this race, mate. What's gone on?
Oh yeah, I just a rookie mistake on the outside. Just had a big tank slap and I panicked and overcorrected straight into the outside wall and bounced off it.
Yeah, definitely very, very easy to do. The temptation on an oval is always to sort of try and correct when you feel the car getting sideways. So was it just a case of the rear tyres were starting to get a bit hot or a little bit worn? You're using those up a little bit more than the fronts maybe, and that's why the car started to behave that way? Or
We were only like one lap in after restart, and I'm not really comfortable on the outside around here, and my plan was always to be on the inside, but couldn't cut back in. So I wasn't real comfortable through there and just took a bit too much speed through there and just got a big tank slap.
Yeah, definitely saw that taking place. But interesting to hear how it actually all occurred. Up until that point, how are you feeling about it all?
I was following Toby around and I was holding my own pace. It's just I kept using my right rear tire up a lot, much more quicker than I was wanting to.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. We're seeing quite a few cars sort of stepping out at the rear end, especially almost when it shows up, seems to show up the most when the car actually runs across that dog leg, where they go to cut the dog leg and they're on the flat, and you're seeing quite a few cars moving around at that particular point. So, unfortunate, mate. Unfortunate to see you out. You're running sort of solidly up until that stage. All I can suggest, man, come back next week and see how you go.
Yeah, I'm still a rookie, still learning, so I'll just take this year to learn and just keep progressing.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining us. This is number 24, Ross Cheatham. Unfortunately, out of this race, had a good run until that point, but good to actually hear from him, find out what happened, gives everybody a little bit more idea and context of what's taking place. But we're about to go green again here, guys, so it's going to be Stent leading header shot away.
Absolutely, and we've got 110 laps remaining here. It's now 86 laps down. Still a long way to go. We're not even out halfway yet, of course. So there is that bit more to run in this race, and you've got to get the car to that nice point in the race where you can make sure you get to the end. So we're probably looking at about one or two more stops on and we're back to green.
Yeah, stand away well. Looks as though Malone's going to have a real good shot at getting by header shot this time with that nice big cut across the infield. But looks as though header shot's managed to come that off.
Five cars got around. Reece May has been turned.
Okay, so it looks like the 5 of Reece May got around there on the restart. What's actually taken place there? Looks as though Mark Smith, Reece May. I think that just having a look at that. Yeah, it's kind of hard to sort of diagnose in the heat of the moment, but looks as though May sort of, I'm not sure if he wasn't aware that they were 3 wide at that stage, and he's just made a little bit of a turn in, and at that stage, looks as though Mark Smith was arriving at a rate of knots. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there, I think, just based on what we see, but we are under caution again.
Yeah, unfortunately caught Adam Ariel as well, who was just after that incident made sort of box it up off the wall and then sort of just trying to avoid any incidents, unfortunately collected Adam Ariel up there. I think Adam Ariel's got a fair whack to the front of that car now, a couple of hits on that car, and the 515 is looking a little bit second-hand at the front now, and that's going to hurt the rest of the race. And well, temperature-wise, it's quite warm out there still, and when you get damage to the front of these cars, it can always affect the cooling, and that's never a fun thing to happen.
So we've got Bradker, Jordan and Williams coming down pit road. It looks like just about everyone else has stayed out. Bradker might be looking to get a few more repairs done to that car. I'm actually going to watch his pit stop as he comes in. I can't see the car going up on the jacks at all. So I imagine that he's just there to take a top off of fuel and he's going to fix up that car a little bit more. Try and recover as best as he can from the damage that he got and see if he can get that thing back to the front, but certainly not looking as though there's any tyre changes going on that car.
I think a few of those drivers just coming in to get those repairs done. Stevie Dub, one of the interesting ones in that group. I don't think he needed any repairs done. He had that incident a few laps ago, which brought out the caution, but the car wasn't looking too bad there. So I think he's just topping up with gas. Same for Norman Clark in the 09. So just getting a little bit of fuel, extra fuel in there, which could help them in the long run. Of course, if you can stick it out a little bit longer and you get a lucky caution, you could be in for a real big gain of positions on this short track here at Phoenix.
Yeah, definitely. It's so much that like every little thing has big consequences around here. That's probably the biggest thing to remember about this sort of quirky little track is, they're little things. It's a game of fine margins, and they have big consequences. Something as simple as choosing a different line when you're running behind somebody can either pay off or punish you massively. But we're just going to have to see how it plays out. We'll see if we can actually get running under green after a couple of quick cautions there in a row. We're not quite ready to go green yet, but it looks like I think it'll be one to go this time by. Stint still leads from Heddershide. Malone still there in P3. Simon Heddershide there in P4, having a really good run. Andrew Dyson, he's moved his way up P5. Wasn't so long ago he's running 13th, so he's made a big move forward. Aquijo and Curvis, after that crash earlier on, back up there in P7. Mackenzie, he was up the front earlier on before he's P8 at the moment. Mark Smith, who we just saw getting involved in a little bit of messiness just before, sitting there in P9. Daniel Johnson's recovered his way up to P10.
Yeah, this is, I mean, obviously it helped Johnson out getting that caution flag coming when he went round, but he'll be nice and settled down now as well after the adrenaline, which surely kicked in after a big spin like that. Just lets you resettle back into the car and get ready to go racing here for lap 91 of the Southwell lift and hoist. 200 here on Checkered Flag e-streaming for the Weekend Warrior Series.
I'd like to see Heddershide get a little bit further up, leading that outside column. He's just lagging a little bit behind Stent. I'd like to see him pull up a little bit more. Very hard to actually do here, but it looks as though we're going to ride on board with Andrew Dyson for the start here.
Dyson off the start.
Right up there behind Malone. Stent drops the hammer. Dyson actually left standing a little bit by Malone, but making that big dive down there to the inside now, seeing if he can gain some of that back. Hasn't really done it all. Seemed to even out a little bit. Inside to outside there. Stent's going to continue to lead away from the usual suspects behind.
Yeah, so side by side coming down this back straight, I should say. It's as I still get confused as well as you had with the new track layout. It throws me for so much of a loop when I'm talking about it. But we're coming across the front dogleg here, and it is Furious Racing back in the pack. Malone still sitting up in P3. He's had a solid run tonight, and he's been sitting there as the caution flag flies. Oh, Reese May.
Oh, it is a pile-up. It is an
huge one.
Absolute pile-up. Paul Drady's in it. Looks as though Ruben Phelps is in it. We probably need to go back and have a bit of a look at a replay of that, but that is massive.
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
Paul Brady.
Okay, so it looks as though, and I'm just quickly trying to have a look, as though Reese May, I think, got in the wall all on his own, but I don't think that was actually the cause of any of it. It looks as though...
I think Paul Drady loose head, and in trying to regather, he pushed a few people off their line, which started everybody on these cold tyres.
That's unfortunate because Ruben's seen that happening, and he has dived all the way to the inside as far as you could possibly want. And still managed to get collected. You know, he's seen that happening, taken big avoiding action, and still got cleaned up by it, which is a rotten piece of luck. And then, of course, he spins backwards up the track into the outside wall. There's another car there that gets involved. I think that was Adam Ariel. Second time he's joined an accident tonight that's happened in front of him. Reese May ended up pinned up there against the wall as well. And the 08 car has gone right into... He's just gone right into the accident. He barely seemed to even slow the 08 car, which Maxi Marshall. He's kind of almost come in. Everyone around him has slowed down. And he's just smashed straight into the side of Drady.
Arca braking at its best.
Yeah, actual braking probably would have helped there, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it looks like Drady may have lost his the right rear wheel. Looks like it's completely come off. What we might do is just watch on board for this restart. We'll be on board with Andrew Dyson here for a little bit as we're just trying to get everything working in the background. But we might just listen to it as we've got the replay coming up now.
Yeah, so you can see what we were talking about there before. Drady's got a little bit loose, gone up into the wall, bounced off, collect Phelps. Then they kind of wind up back there on the outside, and a few guys sort of joined that accident as well. So, yeah, there's going to be some damage on those cars. That's absolutely certain.
Absolutely. It's a painful night for them. And as I heard on the radio, driver just saying, I'm leading the lap count, right, aren't we? We've still got 100 or so laps to go in this race, and it's
exactly 100 right now, actually, as you mentioned that. So, yeah, we're not quite halfway through yet. We're very nearly halfway through. As the field thins out a little bit, I mean, it's probably going to be one of those races where even if you do get a fair bit of damage, it's going to be worth sort of sticking out there because you might pick up some positions through attrition yet, because it seems to be quite attrition heavy at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. I'd probably say to Ross Chatham, just get back out there if the car's still alive, because you can still pick up some points tonight. Jai Schultz is the final car running by the looks of things. He's 20 laps off the lead lap at the moment, and I think Paul Drady's night is absolutely done. I think it's going to be a long repair bill for Drady, unfortunately. As I said, I saw the right rear of that car hanging completely off.
Yeah, it's stuffed, mate. That thing's going to be, they're going to be fixing that for a while.
New drive shaft and everything needed. That is painful indeed. Toby Stone is leading at the moment with Daniel Heddershide just beside him. Dyson Malone is the second row along Simon Heddershide on the third row with Jeremy Nankervis working his way up the field nicely. Started 27th, up into 6th now. Darren McKenzie up in P7 with Urquio in 8th, and Daniel Johnson and Matt Ray rounding out our top 10 here for the Southwell Lifts and Hoists 200 here. Checkered flag e-streaming for the Australian Stock Car Championships 2023. As we'll just watch here with Jamie Nankervis on the start here, as the pace car's gone in a long time ago. We come along this back straight onto this turns, well, sort of this silly bit of turn into final turn 3 and 4 here. And we'll be coming onto the front. Well, it's not exactly straight. The front dog leg now as Toby Sent launches away, gets a good start here as the cars fan out.
Everyone's sort of diving down near the inside, take the dog leg, except for Nankervis of the leading bunch, I suppose. Stayed a little bit high, not wanting to get too involved in that, probably in case there was a bit of an issue. And it's funny when you chop the dog leg, you kind of make time and then you lose it again straight away. So everything sort of evens out, but quite often you'll find yourself getting a better run into turn 1 and 2 by not cutting it. But at the same time, you can actually turn an overall faster lap time when you do cut it. Oh, Wellman's gone around. Is that going to bring the caution or not? We're still green. Yeah, so Wellman's had a bit of a bump. Or did he just get loose? It looks like these fresh tyres these cold tyres might be punishing a few guys. Yeah, he just lost it on his own. Simple as that. So just back end stepped out. That's it.
Yeah, so he hadn't changed tyres for Wellman. So he's been on those tyres for about 50 odd laps. About 25 laps.
Battle going on at the front here, mate. So we'll just turn away from that for a minute. Dyson right up there behind Stent, who's managed to pass. I think Malone and Dyson managed to make moves on Heddershide, who's sticking there to the outside. But Dyson is all over the place looking for a clear lane. He sort of found one now, sort of not making too much of a cut. That dog leg gets chopped off again by Malone, who's run through to the front. Stent slotting down into third there. And all of a sudden, the two guys which have been leading for so long, and now it's Malone and Dyso up the front. Just like that.
Absolutely. And McKenzie is back with a run as well. He is closing up behind Andrew Dyson now and sneaking up towards the back and getting back to the front of the pack as well. He's been having some good weeks, as we said, McKenzie. He's not been lucky in all of them, but came off a win at Daytona in the Xfinity cars a couple of weeks back, and he would sorely love to get another victory underneath his belt tonight. And he's been having a really good performance tonight, and you would say he is definitely one of those cars we're keeping an eye out for and expect to see up towards the front at the end of this race.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he's one of those guys that, tends to almost be feast or famine for him. He has these great races where he runs up the front all night and can quite often win them. And then he'll have other races where, you just don't see him. So it's almost kind of like he has really good nights or he has really bad nights. And what he really wants probably in this series particularly is Dyson slots down there to take the lead away from Malone. But what Mackenzie's probably going to be aiming for this time, if he wants to actually repeat his championship winning performance of a couple of years ago, is just to try and minimise those extremes. He might not win as many races, but he also might not have the shocking nights, where things go bad, just to dial things down and just try and get those consistent top fives. That's the important thing to do in a series like this. There's no chase, there's no playoffs. It is a straight points-paying series, round 1 all the way through to round 36. And you've just got to be there. You've just got to be there in the top 5 over and over and over again. He knows that as well as anybody. And hopefully he's going to be, able to do that throughout the year. Daiso to the lead now, of course. Mackenzie slotting there into second. Malone drifting back a little way in third. And Daniel Johnson making his way back through as well. So we did kind of wonder earlier on how long it would be before we'd see that number 41 out the front. He's there right now. But he's coming under a fair bit of pressure, it's got to be said.
A little bit of a tap there for Mark Smith as they were coming onto the front section. Smith just got a little bit of a whack on the side, but he's managed to pull it back in the right direction. I was going to say as well, saying about consistency, one of those drivers that is very consistent. The 83, Matty Ray, we saw him taking out his first championship, as I said, on the ovals with the Truck Series, and we would not put it past him this year to have a good season scoring. But he's not had the best start of the season. He's not had the best start of the race, but he's still there and thereabouts.
Well, he's had a shocker, mate. Let's not put it. Let's not call it for something other than it is. As we might just come back to that actually, because Mackenzie is just running the inside of Dyson now. Looks as though he's fairly intent on taking the lead of this race. I don't think Dyson's got. No, he doesn't. Dyson's not going to fight him too hard at this stage of proceedings. But so Mackenzie now moving to the lead of this race. But certainly, we talk about Matty Ray. He's had a shocking start to the year. It's not really been him being out of sorts or anything like that. He's just been in everything. Everything that's happened, there's the 83, kind of stuck in the middle of it. So, but it's such a long year. This series is going to be going all the way through to November. You can't have crappy luck the whole time, right? So that's going to turn around for him at some stage.
Absolutely, and as I said, consistency is quite good at that, but it seems after that Truck Series Championship, it's gone downhill for him, but I'm sure it will come back in the right direction soon. Mackenzie now in the lead of the race, and he's pulling a nice bit of a gap over the rest of the field. He's about half a second over Dyson, and they are about a second ahead of Malone at the moment.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Mackenzie's going to sort of do a Bradker here and maybe... Bradker, of course, held on to the tyres a lot better than anyone expected him to, but he certainly did have a pace deficit later on in that run. I just wonder if Mackenzie's going to... Now that he's got that gap over Daiso, there's absolutely no point in him pushing like mad trying to pull out a 3, 4, 5, 6 second gap. It's not going to do anything for him because there's going to be a caution again at some stage. We're not going to run green to the end, I don't think. I don't think there's been anything in this race to suggest that that's going to happen. So, he just wants to kind of run that, maybe sort of keep the gap around about half a second to a second, something like that, without taking too much out of the car. And we'll see what happens. We'll see whether he's got that good long run pace under him or not. I know Daiso very, very good at that kind of thing, his tyre management and so on. So for someone to do a better job than that is going to be a big ask, but we'll see how severe that drop-off is in a few laps' time.
Absolutely, and just saying, we're not expecting to see it go green to the end. We haven't really lost many cars completely out this race. Currently, the only people that have truly retired are Noddy Tompkin, Ross Chatham, and Aidan Schultz. Paul Dravey looks like he's in the pit lane getting a lot of repairs done. Jai Schultz has got back out there. He's some 20 laps off the lead, but people are continuing circulating tonight. There's still a lot of cars on the track, and that can sometimes mean there is a bit more chance of a caution coming out.
Yeah, of course, the longer they run, the more they're going to spread out a little bit as well. So there's still quite a lot of fighting going on sort of around the mid-pack there. We've seen like Stent head aside. They're still running nose to tail there, sort of 7th and 8th now, though. And Bradka's sort of looking to make his way forward. Is having a decent old look at Simon Heddershot at the moment, just sort of slipping back in behind him. Jai Schultz is another one who's sort of trying to make his way forward as he ducks down underneath Ruben Phelps. Or Bradko with a big old drift. He's not the first one that we've seen drop down and hit that apron tonight, and he's really cooked those rear tyres. You can see the back end of that car squirming around as he sort of tries to settle down. He's next to his teammate now. 3-1. Is that going to go? Very, very nearly didn't. As Mark Smith, I think that is there, looked as though he might get a piece of that action as well. But no, they've all sort of cleared each other. They're all kind of slotting that into single file. Brad Fenley having a look at Bradka, trying to pounce on that little error. And it looks as though Fenley might be able to slam this one home by jumping across the dogleg here, which he doesn't elect to do, actually. He could have potentially slidden back up in front of Bradka, but he hasn't done that. Now he's going to be behind him. So, they're all kind of a bit of a mess there at the back, but all very, very straightforward at the front. Mackenzie 1.1 seconds now over Dyson.
Yeah, Mackenzie stretching that lead, but Dyson's starting to fight back a little bit. He's fastest car on the track last time round, by about a tenth of a second faster than Mackenzie. So the gap is starting to close a little bit now, and we'll see how that one plays out. We'll keep an eye on it. Okay, just getting a bit of a lot of high line there as well, running smoothly. I think the best action to look at the moment is probably Brad Fenley, Brenton Henderson, and Gary Wellman. Those three are battling tooth and nail at the moment. 3 cars very close to each other, 3 green cars as well, just to help with the commentary team, make it just a little bit trickier to call.
Yeah, just confusing things a little bit more. I've just actually spent the last couple of laps just watching Mackenzie. Caution's out. We'll come back to that.
Nathan Button around the pink 62.
Solo spin. Yeah. Solo spin there. Back end's just gone around on him. We've seen that tonight a few times. Lock the brakes down. Hasn't hit anyone. Back on. It'll be fine. That's fine. It's just one of the things that sort of happened. So had a bit of a lose. I was just actually watching Mackenzie a little bit over those last couple of laps. And the back end of that O2 was starting to get a little bit excited. Starting to move around a fair bit. Dyson's car still looked fairly well planted, but definitely Mackenzie's rear tyres looking as though they're starting to suffer. Wouldn't be surprised to see wholesale tyre changes here. Looks as though we've got a fair few guys sticking out, though. We've got Equijo. He's staying out. We've got Stent, Heddershide. Who else is back there? It looks like...
Nakarvis is sticking it out, as well as Tristan Koch.
Yeah, so a few guys sticking out. Most people coming in. Not surprised to see Mackenzie coming in. That car looked as though it was getting a little bit lively. A little surprised to see Daiso coming down. His car still looked fairly planted. I'm just going to have a look at Daiso actually to see if they... he is changing tyres. So I'll just have a look to see how many he gets. Whether he's going to take all 4. I imagine he probably will. He is. Okay, so Dyson's taking 4. Stephen Williams looks like he's taking 4. I think Mackenzie, looking at that pit stop time, probably took 4 as well. But yeah, there's been a handful of guys stay out, so this is actually quite interesting. Brad, what would you have done in that scenario, you think?
4 fresh good years, and I'm not leaving till I get them.
Okay, all right. Well, you sure you don't want to take a moment to think about that? Or...
Absolutely not.
No, you sound absolutely sure. So
until I get 4.
All right, so Brad's coming in for 4 tyres. Yeah, I'm kind of almost agreeing with you there, I think, depending on how many times I've stopped already, I think, because we've got 5 tyre sets to get us through this entire race. So it'd depend on the individual situation, I think. But, yeah, I'd almost sort of be with you on that, sort of thinking, 4 fresh tyres, you can't really go past it. If we get a long green run, which is going to happen sooner or later, at some point, we are going to get that long 40-lap green flag run or something. Do you want to be on old boots then? Don't think so.
Well, remembering that Mackenzie saved a set from earlier, so he's still got an extra set than a lot of the other people.
Yeah, and he's probably going to march forward on these guys as well, because that was a decently sized green flag run when you're talking about tyre wear. The tyres will have definitely experienced some drop-off during that time. So there's going to be a significant advantage to Mackenzie, Dyson, Malone, guys like that out there on their fresh boots for sure. So I wouldn't expect to see it be too long before that O2 is back in front. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, well, last time, if you remember, when Bradker had that damage and he came back in on his second pit stop, was a lot of laps ago. Mackenzie also pitted and was on pit road for an extreme amount of time. So it suggests that something we didn't see has happened to his car, but he's come back really well.
Yeah, he has come back strongly, and he's making all the right strategy calls, it seems, at the moment, although... us agreeing with it doesn't automatically make it right. We'll see at the end of the race, but certainly it seems like the thing to do at the moment. But I'm sure that all the guys who stayed out have got their reasons. So whether it's they're getting low on tyre sets or whether or not they just think track position is better to take at the moment, totally up to those guys. And we're going to see how it all plays out. It's one of the great things about this is the amount of mixed strategies you do get. So looking forward to see how this all shakes.
Yeah, pace car just pulling off. Now we've got a short amount of time. Yeah, I'd suggest a lot of the people that stayed out there now, Ed, were the ones who pitted earlier when we were saying, do you take a set of tyres or not? So I think it's trying to get back to a level playing field for that last caution.
Yeah, those two columns of cars, especially the outside line, are not straight at all. Everybody seems to be trying to get a bit of a look to the outside of the car in front. So you've got one straight line on the inside, then this big diagonal fan out on the outside. That's not going to matter too much. Equijo drops the hammer. He's away. Toby Stent is dropping in down there behind him. One of the hardest places to get a good restart done, this one. And a legal restart as well, which is the the crucial thing. But Equijo, Daiso, look, he's doing it again. He's running that down there on the flat, trying to make positions. I swear he's just testing that out. He doesn't seem to be making massive gains for him. But every time he's got a fresh boots on, he's running there right up by the wall through 1 and 2. So interesting to see. But doesn't seem to be making massive gains for him right now. Mackenzie straight past Stent already. He's slotting into second place there behind Equijo. And as we say, and it's taken precisely no time at all for that O2 to be back up front.
Yeah, looking good.
Wreck in the background.
Big wreck, middle of the field.
Nankervis and Malone involved in that. So just have to have a look. They came off the corner 3 wide. I think Malone has kind of gone out. He's run to the outside. He's bumped off Stephen Williams, bounced back the inside, taken Nankervis, and they've both gone straight to the scene of the accident. Just trying to see, I think Bradker very nearly involved in that, but I think everyone's done really well to miss them because no one else has really cleaned them up. So it's only really those two involved. And when you get a wreck that far up in the pack, it normally involves a whole bunch of other cars, especially given at that point of the track, there's walls both sides. There's no apron to go onto. So everyone's actually done a really good job keeping out the way of that.
It looks like Mackenzie and Malone's come up and just touched the rear end of Williams in the replay, and that sent him down in the Nankervis.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, it looks as though that's actually taken place. Looks like a bit of a bounce between them. So, yeah, Mackenzie managed to get his lead back with those fresh tyres on before all of that kicked off. I'm just having a look down to see if there's any takers down there on pit lane. Looks like there's one. I think Ruben Phelps is down there.
Matty Ray and Brenton Henderson are also joining them. So 3 SRM cars in pit lane at the moment.
Yeah, they've decided to roll the dice. That's got to be getting pretty close to their last set of tyres by now, surely.
I'd say so. It depends a little bit on when they changed their first set, of course. We know a few drivers didn't change in those first couple of cautions. So it gets a little bit tricky now, of course, because we can see how many times people have been in pit lane. We can see how long they've stayed, but we don't have any information on when their tyres or how many tyres they've got left, of course. So that always does change things up. Winner for the most trips down pit lane tonight is Kobe Jordan. 20 times down pit lane tonight. So
20?
Been through the pit lane a few times.
20 pit stops?
Yes. That's what I'm getting. So,
all right, he's obviously got his reasons. Maybe he was picking up some repairs. I know he was in a bit of stuff earlier on, so maybe he was getting a bit of repairs done, but 20 is intense. Yeah, that pit crew is going to earn a beer after the end of that. Virtual beer for the virtual crew, maybe. But yeah, anyway, so we've got these guys rolling around. Looks like Aquijo and Stant and guys like that are committing now to their staying out strategy. Maybe they haven't got any tyres left, or maybe they're trying to keep a set in the bank. Not sure.
Well, Lachlan Oakley, I've got Aquijo coming down pit lane 3 times. Toby Stant just twice. So Toby's definitely got a set of tyres up his sleeve.
Yeah, at least one, hasn't he? I think Aquijo's probably got... How many times do you say been down? 3?
3. So I reckon...
Yeah, okay,
Aquijo's
so he's got another
that.
set in the bank. How many times has Mackenzie been down?
Mackenzie, 4 times. So Mackenzie...
Okay, so he's potentially... I reckon there was one stop there where he didn't take anything, though, so he might have a set in the bank as well. So,
sure.
Yeah, so you're thinking maybe most of these guys have at least got a set left. They're just trying to sort of play themselves in as best they can. But yeah, certainly it looks as though... I'm a little bit surprised that Stent, if he's only been down the pits twice, I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't come down and get some freshies. I thought he might have taken that because, we're sort of within about 50 laps of the end now.
Yeah, Stent, both the header shades have only been down pit lane twice tonight. So they're obviously waiting, thinking we're going to get another caution and maybe just leaving it for maybe about 50-odd laps to go. And really
how many tyre sets do you need for 50 laps? Like, if you've got 3 in the bank, right? If you've got 3 in the bank or 2 in the bank or something like that, throw one on now, throw one on later. I don't see the purpose of letting them sit in the shed, but... I could be proven wrong. One of the things you don't want to do is take tyres very late on and not have time to get through the back. But anyway, we see Mackenzie sort of lead away right now. We'll see all of this play out, and all of our arguing will be meaningless once this all plays out. We're going to see what actually happens. But yeah, Mackenzie cruising out there to a nice lead. He's got a whole bunch of guys on old tyres behind him. Dyson trying to force his way through the middle. He is the next car on new tyres. And I think Johnson there looking down the inside. Dyson, I'm not sure if he's on fresh rubber or not. I've got a feeling he might be.
Yeah, my brain just defaulted to 3 sets of tyres for the race. Of course, it is 5. But that's why I was a bit confused there for a few seconds. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who has saved it for this final. As we've got another car around, the flag will come out.
Involved. And I think we've got 4 sets of tyres, guys. We've got the ones they're starting on and 3 sets of changes.
That's it. As the caution flag does not fly.
No, caution flag doesn't fly, and I'm just looking at the info list for the race. It is saying 5 sets of tyres total.
Norman Clark,
the one they start on and 4 changes.
Sorry, Norman Clark there involved in that one as well. Norman Clark got a lot of damage in the 09.
Replay.
And caution flag coming out. That is going to be painful as we go to the replay now.
It's actually the teammates have come together by the looks of it as well. So, it wasn't actually... No, it wasn't. It was Tristan Koch coming in like an absolute missile from the top. I think he might have got loose and just smashed down into Norman. Got very, very close to taking Nankervis as well. That's why I thought they were both involved, but they're not. How that didn't bring a caution out, I don't know. But anyway, they're on the way, and Mackenzie out to 1.7 second lead at the moment.
It's one of those wrecks where you just go, why didn't the caution flag fly for me then? Really could have used it. Ruben Phelps, I think, may have got a penalty as he's just coming out of pit lane now.
Guys, I've lost Mackenzie.
Mackenzie's
still up front.
Still Mackenzie.
Still sitting on the screen.
Okay, I can't see him. So he's definitely disappeared from my screen. So I'm glad that's only me and not an actual Darren problem. No, he's there. He's still out there. Just for some reason, I couldn't see him for a minute. So that's a bit weird, but there he is.
He's pulling a good lead, Ed. I think a few of them might not be able to see him soon if this keeps going.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. He's showing a clean pair of heels at the minute, that's for sure.
Well, he's absolutely flying out there. He just set the fastest lap of the race, and he is the fastest car out there by some margin as well. He's again doing the Bracker strategy of absolutely flying through the field. 2.2 seconds as well, and that is a fairly nice gap to have with 60-odd laps to go.
Daniel Johnson's actually moved past Dyson for P2. So I think Dyson very much looking at potentially pacing himself over these last few laps in case there isn't another caution, but it seems fairly unlikely the way things have been. But it might run green to the end. So we'll see how he decides to manage that. He's got Stephen Williams, his teammate, in there behind him as well, who's you know, he's had a quiet night, as he often does. You know, he's just sort of quiet, consistent,
Oh, we've
solid.
got a car going in the background as Mark Smith is going around. The caution flag does not fly.
All right, well, that's another one spinning out, and it hasn't brought the caution. So, there we go. There we go. There's the caution flag. So, it just took a little bit longer. Oh, we actually got cars everywhere. We got cars everywhere on the front stretch. So, Josh Schultz is involved in that. It looks like he might have kicked it off. He's become the latest one to actually clip that inside apron, loop the car right there around. He's held the brakes as best as he possibly could, but he's just been T-boned there by, that might be Brenton Henderson, it is. Bounced him to the outside. It looks as though Mark Smith has gone into the end of the pit wall trying to avoid all of that. And everyone else, I think, apart from... who else is there? Sorry, Brett Campbell, I think, got caught in it as well. And unfortunately that's average. Norman's gone straight into the back. He's gone straight into the wall, bounced into that accident, a little bit a la Bathurst 1992 there. And I think that it looks as though Henderson has just driven straight out of that wreck and managed to wind up nose-to-nose with Maxi Marshall. So that's I won't say the exact word, but it's a catastro something.
There's a bit. We've got cars in pit lane. Those drivers that had only done 2 stops have now come in and chucked some fresh boots on. Darren McKenzie as well joining him. He just chucked a fresh set of tyres on as well. So we've got a lot of cars now on some really fresh boots for the final 60 laps. And they should also have, a couple of them have still got a set up their sleeve as well.
Yeah, so we know Stent's definitely got another set up his sleeve. I'm not sure where that leaves sort of everybody else. I think McKenzie... That's got to be his last set, surely, I would think.
Mackenzie's been in the lane 5 times now.
Yeah, and you get 4 changes.
Yeah, so I feel he might be a little bit low. I know Johnson and Dyson, they've definitely got a set left up their sleeve then, because they've been down the lane 3 times. So has Quijo and Daniel Hederscheid, Toby Stent, and Simon Hederscheid. So those are the cars that we know have definitely got a set left in the up their sleeve for this final part of the race. A lot of others are questionable.
Yeah, I'm wondering about McKenzie. I'm wondering whether he's got any more tyres to go. Because, of course, if we get another caution, which it looks like we probably will at some stage, then that's going to put him at a big disadvantage. But he has the advantage now, on those fresh boots. I'm a little bit surprised he elected to come down, but maybe he's sort of feeling something in the car that he thought needed rectifying. So that's obviously the decision only a driver can make. But it's going to be fascinating. This, Daiso is playing himself in. Stephen Williams playing himself in. Can't ignore Johnson up the front. Stent and Hederscheid are there too. So, and Matty Raymond's just casually put himself up to P7. Adam Ariel. He's just snuck in there to P6 as well. We haven't really said too much about him tonight, but he's there too. So, yeah, I wouldn't like to have to put my house on the result of this one.
Adam Ariel's been in some major accidents tonight. That thing must be built like a tank. I reckon he'll be able to pick up a job with a tank manufacturer when we finish his race.
Yeah, it's a bit banged up at the front, isn't it? But he's hanging in.
He's doing well. He was a lap down and he's back on a lead lap, so that's a good thing.
All right, so we're about to go green. Daniel Johnson's going to lead them away. You'd expect him to get away quite well. The leader has got away quite well every single restart so far, so you'd expect nothing less this time around. Daiso there on the outside. Williams there following through on the inside. It could be a very interesting restart. Hopefully, they manage to keep it green, and we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, and Lockie Urquio there as well. Lachlan Urquio.
Just going back and just double checking.
All right, we're away green. We're away green. Dyson just slotting in there sort of next to Johnson. Johnson holding that bottom line. They're going to go side by side. Daiso trying to make that high line work through 1 and 2. He's going to have a really nice drive off the corner. He's obviously decided playtime is over. He's going to go, almost scrapes the wall. Johnson giving him plenty of room, probably a little bit too nice to him there on the outside. Remember, these two came together earlier on in the race, and now they find themselves battling for the lead. So Daiso really getting out there using all the track running to the wall, and he's managed to claim that lead away from Daniel Johnson. And Williams is going to slot in there for third, and he's going to have eyes on P2 now as he tries to move up and get that same move done around the outside. He's not quite close enough yet to do it. And, of course, it's all completely nuts back there in the pack as well. So there's a lot more racing going on. That Mackenzie actually nearly getting into Urquhart and having to take big avoiding action running up the track in turn 3 and 4 there. And he's not making the headway just yet that he would have wanted to make by sacrificing his lead to take fresh boots.
Yeah, that was a close one, Ed, wasn't he? Nearly got into the back of him. So much difference in speed there.
Daiso stretching away now out the front. Williams not able to dispatch Johnson quite yet, but he's certainly looking at it. Heddershide looks as though he was getting a big gulp of understeer right there, but he's just trying to get a little bit of momentum there to deal with Bradker. He's got Stent behind him, who's just kind of there at the moment. Williams down the inside of Johnson. They're going to run side by side coming out of turn 1 and 2 down the back stretch, or the front stretch as you might want to call it right now, into the more steeply banked 3 and 4 as they're going to cross the finish line. Who's going to be ahead? I think Williams might just edge at that time. No, not quite. As they come through the dog leg, they're going to stay side by side. Johnson fighting for all he's worth on the outside. Not quite enough. He's going to have to see that position slot into P3, and in a moment he's going to have Bradker to deal with.
Now, I can confirm that Mackenzie has got a set of boots up his sleeve. He came down pit lane a couple of times for fuel, but he only took tyres 3 times, so he's still got a set up his sleeve tonight.
All right, well, that is good to know. That's very good to know. It's very good for him too. So, Heddershire just running side by side with Bradker at the minute as they're sort of disputing P4. Looks as though Heddershire's going to take that. He's remember Johnson's on slightly older tyres, I believe, so maybe he's going to get up there and try and make a move on him, take P3.
Yeah, we currently got Dyson, Williams, Johnson, and Bradker all on the all about 26 laps on these tyres. Everybody else is on a fresher set of boots.
Gee, with it, I mean, the 26 laps, some of them were under caution, so there's not going to be quite as much wear on them as you'd have under green, but it's still a decent amount of differentiation between the tyre ages. So I'm actually surprised Daiso's been able to clear out to the level that he has. Heddershire just getting underneath Johnson again now. Might give him a quick tap in the door. He doesn't, but he's probably going to get that move done through the dog leg there. Not quite yet. No, he hasn't quite cleared him yet, but you've got to think it's not too far away.
Yeah, Johnson's car's looking very nervous as well. I've just been watching it a few times, and it gets to side to side with Toby Stent.
Yeah, he's just. I don't think he knew Stent was there. He's
As all around in the background goes Gary Wellman, and that's going to bring out the caution flag here. Just a little bit further back, we saw Wellman getting into the back of Adam Ariel. Wellman had a big slap in the side. Tried to save the car, and around he goes. And unfortunately, Tristan Koch was the driver that gave him a bit of a tap in the side as well.
Yeah, so that's another one of those simple spins that we've seen a couple of times tonight. Those cars looking quite loose out there. But I really want to have a bit of a look at that incident that didn't actually cause the caution, but the one sort of close to the front between Stent and Johnson. Johnson, of course, on that older rubber, he'd lost a couple of positions up until that point. But he's just, I'm just going back and having a quick look at it now.
I think he's just misjudged it a bit, Ed. He's, as you said, been slower getting off the corner, and he's come down. And by that time, of course, there's no room to come down. There's a car already stuck its nose in.
Yeah, that's right. He's probably, and I mean, to be perfectly fair, he has managed to come down in front of Stent. It's not like he's driven down into the side of him. He's come down in front of him. But Stent's kind of had the momentum as well, which makes it a little bit hard because he's gone in the back then and then kind of lost the back end as a result of the contact because the cars are so grip limited through that corner. It's a flat corner. You haven't got the banking there to catch you. So he's sort of come in there. That bump has been enough to unsettle the car. tip it over that grip limit, and then he's kind of clipped that inside wall. I don't think there's going to be a lot of damage on the car, but yeah, certainly some fairly intense racing there between the two of them.
Yeah, a racing deal, wasn't it? I mean, it's not. It all happens in a blink of an eye.
All right, so Dyson's in the pits. He is definitely getting tyres. Stephen Williams in the pits. He is getting tyres. Hedderscheid has stayed out. Daniel Johnson has stayed out. Darren McKenzie stayed out. Simon Hedderscheid, he's out there as well. Bradker, Nankervis, Malone. So Dyson looks to have been the first of the cars that pitted. And I'll be interested to see where he actually filters back in. It looks as though he's come out behind Norman Clark, who's carrying all that damage. Not great trying to figure out his position by looking at Norman.
P12 at the moment. So
P12, okay, there you go. So he's got a bit to do, but he's got fresh boots to do it with.
Yeah, so himself, Steve Dubb and Urquio as well, they've all come down the pit lane, strapped some fresh boots on there.
Are those their last sets? Are those their last sets, you think? Or
possibly.
do they have more in the bank?
I'd say, by the looks of it on my screen, that would be their last set of tyres. From what I've seen as well, I don't recall a couple of them coming down pit lane just for fuel, so I think this might be the final set of boots for those cars.
I'd be surprised if Daiso doesn't have another set in the bank. I'd be surprised he came down then, because he was in the lead of the race. He had good speed. He was kind of extending on those cars in front. So to come down and take his last set of tyres now
wouldn't make sense, Ed, would it? It would not make sense.
It wouldn't make sense. So I'd be surprised if that's his last set. He must have another one in the bank, because you wouldn't do it.
I'm going back to have a little bit of a look now to just go through the stops. So I'll get back to you on that one and let you know how many tyres he's changed.
Okay, so when you go back and have a look at that, we'll talk about the guys who are leading the race currently. Daniel Hedderscheid, he has sort of inherited that lead just due to the fact that the guys in front of him pitted. He managed to clear Daniel Johnson before that caution came out. We saw that little bit of a touch between Johnson and Stent, which has sent Stent back to P8. Darren McKenzie, how many times we said his name tonight? He's been in the middle of just about everything. He sat there in P3. Simon Hedderscheid, he's had a quiet night, but a good night. You know, he's had good speed. He hasn't fallen away. He's been up there most of the time. He's still sitting there in P4. Nankervis, he's through there by the skin of his teeth, and Bradker, they've been involved in a bit of action, but they're sat there in P5 and 6. Malone, who's been such a prominent figure in the race as well, he sat there in P7. Stent dropping back to 8th, as we said, and then we've got Finley coming forward and Matty Ray coming forward as well. And they are the 10 cars that are just ahead of the fresh-tyred Andrew Dyson, Stephen Williams, and Lachlan Urquijo. So, yeah, very interested to see what happens from here.
This will be exciting to see Dyson trying to make his way through this with all different drivers and all different rubbers.
Yeah, definitely. Those two DPR boys, I think, are going to be moving forward. I think Urquijo is going to try and tack on the back of them. But they got to get there first, and we're going to see what happens. These guys at the front are not going to want to let them go and get through. But Hedderscheid drops the hammer, gets a good start there away. Bradker being very aggressive there off the start. McKenzie as well, looking to the inside of Johnson. Johnson has no choice there but to give him a lane at the bottom. McKenzie's like, I'm coming through, mate. So, yeah, he's got that job done and slots in there to P2.
Yeah, so Dyson and Stevie Dubb both made a stop early in the race just for fuel, so they've got one set of tyres up their sleeve. So it looks like everybody up the front has still got one set of tyres in their allotment. So it should be pretty close to the end.
That makes more sense then. That makes more sense for them to come down and take a set then, because if that was their final set, with the pace that Dyson had, there would have been no sense for him to come down and spend it now. So, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Now we're going to see McKenzie get to work on the back of Hedderscheid, those two Mustangs there. McKenzie's had that great early run pace all night, hasn't he? So wouldn't be surprised to see him make a move for the lead, especially as he's running, I believe, slightly fresher boots than Hedderscheid as well. So he's going to... he's running right there on the grip limit. There's none of this treat the tyres nice as they warm up sort of deal with McKenzie. He's going for it. So whether that's going to... we have sort of seen late in the runs, McKenzie's back end getting a little bit lively. Seems like he's very, very keen to lead this one. So we'll see what actually happens, how that all turns out. If we run green to the end, this is going to be fascinating.
Is it? Indeed, Simon Hedeshard having a good run as well. He's moving up into third position. Watch out for Russell Bradker, who's currently sitting in fifth. Well, it was fifth position. Now it is in fourth position as himself and Toby Stent just get past Daniel Johnson. Bradker has been quick all night. We saw him have that little moment off the dog leg, that tap of the left rear of the car, having to get some repairs done. But he's now got back up to pace, and he is back at the front of the field, just in front of Stent and a very fast Dyson who is scything his way through the field.
I was surprised not to see Mackenzie absolutely applying the blowtorch to the back of Hedeshide at the minute. There's a little bit of a gap between them. I did see him get a little bit of a slide. I'm not sure if maybe he's just trying to cool those rears down a little bit. But I would have thought that Mackenzie would have been right up harassing Hedeshide. He's not quite there yet. So we'll see how that actually plays out. Dyson, as you mentioned, getting up to P6. He's going to have to deal with Toby Stent next, which he's just done. And then it's going to be Bradker from there. So those fresh-tired boys moving through.
It does seem to be that maybe the fresh air for that leader is a slight advantage to him. We saw Bradker earlier open up a huge 2.5 second lead. We saw Mackenzie open up over a 2 second lead. We saw Dyson open up over a 2 second lead. So
yeah, that's valid. I hadn't actually considered that. But yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Might have to ask the boys about that after the race.
Indeed, as we see now, if we're looking back towards Dyson, Aquino, and even though Curtis actually, they're coming up along nicely. Steve Dub also on those fresh boots, scything his way through the field, and they are moving the way up to the front of this pack. As you said, Hedeshide pulling out, sort of keeping a steady pace up the front. But I think those fresh tyres are certainly paying off now for those drivers behind.
All right, so we've just also seen, just in terms of an update, Reese May and Jai Schultz take their cars behind the wall. I've only just noticed that. I'm not sure how long they've been out of the race for, but yeah, they'll be taking no further part tonight.
That's it, and that brings us down to 26 cars. Still out. Circulated, well, almost out circulated. Brett Campbell, I think, is needing to get some major repairs done with Brenton Henderson and Mark Smith. All those cars in pit lane getting repairs done, but they're still sort of sitting out there hoping back into the races. All close between, very close move.
Yeah, Dyso really using all the track there, and maybe then some, as he gets past Simon Hedeshide there, just ducks to the inside. But just as he's coming off 1 and 2, it looked as though that car was headed straight for the wall, but he's either rubbed it or caught it. But either way, there wasn't a whole lot in it. So now Dyson on those fresh boots, clawing up there behind Mackenzie. And yeah, it's making a three-way fight for the lead now.
We're glad he's got the extra thick orange paint on that car tonight. I think that saved him from a big accident in the wall, just giving it that little scrape along there. A nice orange mark along the walls here at Phoenix.
Yeah, it's just having a look down the inside of Mackenzie now, really cutting that dog leg. I think Mackenzie probably knows that there's a tyre disparity there. Has not got... Oh, I tell you what, like Mackenzie's leaning on those rear tyres. But yeah, Dyson managing to get that move done. And he's only got one more car in his sights.
Does indeed. It is moving along nicely. He's made there's been about 4 or 5 laps since the caution flag went back in, I should say, and Dyson's moved all the way from 12th up to second place. He's absolutely flying at the moment. The race is flying along. We've got 33 laps remaining here for the Southwell Lift and Hoist 200 here for the Lucas Oil Australian Stock Car Championship here on Checkered Flag e-streaming.
Yeah, not a great amount of time to go. You know, we kind of had a few cautions in there, but at the same time, you know, the race has really kind of kicked along. Just seen Oquijo make a move on Simon Hedeshide now, so he's actually taken over that 4th position with those fresh boots. And remember that it was Dyson, Williams and Oquijo that came in on the fresh rubber. Williams is 3rd of those 3 at the moment now, so he's just trying to work on the back of Toby Stent. As Dyson makes a big run for the lead, Hedeshide's not going to fight that too much. He knows that there's a tyre performance difference there, and he's probably going to save his own rubber a little bit and just try and slot in behind that 41, although he does seem to not be quite wanting to get rid of it yet, as he does the crossover and cuts down underneath, and he's going to be trying to on the inside there, but this is a good turn to be on the outside, and I think those fresh tyres are just going to win out, but certainly Hedeshide making it as difficult as possible. I thought he might just slot in, but no, he wants to have a race, and he's tried to at least give Dyson something to think about. Doesn't want to roll over for him, so yeah, it makes it a little bit nicer for us spectating.
Well, absolutely. You never give Dyson an inch because he'll take a mile. You have to make him work for it. Always good to see. And look, Danny Hedgehouse put up a great fight there on the older tyres. If not much you can do though when you're a few laps down on tyres, you've got a hand tied behind your back when you're fighting there. Oakley working his way up. He's right behind Mackenzie now. So
Mackenzie on those rear tyres, mate. He's just using them like nothing else.
He's pushing very hard, and that car is. Every time I see it, I sort of take a deep inhalation of breath.
Yeah, he just seems to get a few laps on those tyres. Like he's fast, but it just whatever he's doing, he must be being real aggressive on the throttle because it's just taking the life out of those rear tyres or heating them up or something.
Really overheating them, I'd say. Absolutely, I think it's all heat.
Yeah. Yeah, so Equijo moving past there as well. Mackenzie probably just suffering a little bit in terms of drive off the turn. I imagine you're going to probably see Williams make a similar move soon as well. How many more cars will get by, I'm not sure. I think Mackenzie's got a decent amount of pace still in that car. He just probably hasn't got quite enough to deal with these guys who've taken all the new boots.
Yeah, so I think as soon as Stevie Dub works his way past, he'll be relatively safe. You might see Wellman moving up there as well. Wellman's on, I believe, some fresher set of tyres as well. And we saw Wellman around a little bit earlier on. He's got a little bit of damage on the front of the Sim Boys entered green machine, but he's got some really good pace now. He's on those fresh tyres, and he's continuing that charge of drivers that stopped in that last caution.
Yeah, I got Mark Smith on pit road as well. He's had a fairly... I think that might have been a drive-through penalty, actually, that he's just taken there. Because it doesn't look as though he stopped for service, but he's having a fairly miserable night, Mark. He's had a couple of incidents there, and he's just sort of staying on the bottom of the track. Is he going to run through pit lane again, actually? Or is he just... No, he's just giving way to the guys on the track, so that's nice of him to do that. He's had a bit of a rough run tonight, but out the front, Dyson from Heddershide, Equijo coming up as well. They were looking back, Williams, Stent, Mackenzie. It looks as though Stent is making a bit of a move on Mackenzie. He's going to find it a little bit tougher because he hasn't really got that tyre advantage. But he seems to have got that move done, so I'm not sure if Mackenzie's starting to suffer now just there on that outside because Stent got by there fairly easily. It looks as though Simon Heddershide's going to be coming down and making a very similar move quite soon. So, yeah, unfortunate to see Darren dropping back like that. Maybe if another caution comes out, they can get some new tyres on it and have a little quick run to the finish, you'll be able to come back into contention.
Well, we've got 25 laps remaining, and that caution coming out, I think everybody's going to be strongly considering using up their last set of tyres for that little run.
They won't be considering it, mate. It'll be a very, very short debate.
Well, with the amount of cautions we've had tonight, there could be that secondary or that...
Equijo sideways. Oh, here comes that caution.
Here comes that caution.
And he's done a great job not to hit anything there.
Yes, absolutely.
He saved that race car. He's going to get most of those positions back, I think, but you see him losing there. Excuse me. But he's, that's unfortunate lose. He was obviously driving that thing real hard. And seems to just be that he's cooked off the rears like so many before him.
So go back there.
He is. I can tell you, Lockie's driving style makes him very hard on those rear tyres as well. It's just the way he is. You can have a scenario where everybody else is kind of burning off the right front or something like that, and he'll still be burning the rears off. So on a track like this where a lot of guys are struggling with that, I'm not surprised to see him sort of have a bit of a lose.
So we've got Gary Wellman sticking it out. Everybody else down pit lane.
Everybody else has got 4 tyres sitting on the wall for the team.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Gary's hand has been forced? Is he out of tyres?
He's been down pit lane. He's been down pit lane 8 times tonight. So
right, so fair possibility he's out of tyres. Yeah. Got Saddington. Jake Saddington still running around there. He's just there behind at the moment. He's going to have to drop to the back because he's 6 laps down, but he's still running. He had a difficult start to the race and he's still running around. So doing well there. But look, I mean, I feel like Wellman's hand was probably forced a bit staying out like this, but I still like it. I still sort of like it. So we'll see what he's able to do. If we get a whole bunch of cautions to the end, he might wind up winning the thing. So, yeah, we'll see.
We will indeed. Adam Malone looked like he might have been sticking it out there, but he's come down the lane now as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it runs from the end now. And, 22 laps remaining now. It's pretty much, we think everybody's used up all their tyre allocations now for sure. This is going to be an absolute sprint to the finish.
Does Toby still have any? Does Stint still have? Because I know he'd only used a couple earlier on.
I think he may have just used them up this time around too.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just taking a look at it there. We're going to see Wellman, as we mentioned, he's in the lead. He's on old boots. But second place is going to be Andrew Dyson. He's on a brand new fresh tyres, as is Heddershot, as is Williams, as is Stint, as is McKenzie, as is Bradker, as is Nankervis, Johnson, Phelps, and Raymond. So on. So I think Aquejo, even in P12 there after that lose, has taken fresh tyres as well. He'll be a bit filthy because he had that tyre advantage and then he's kind of made the error which put everybody else onto, which kind of got rid of that tyre advantage for him, you know. It's allowed everybody else to come in, take tyres, and now they're all on an even keel, whereas before he had a decided advantage. So he's going to be kicking himself over it. It's going to be hard for him to move forward from there, but he's had some decent pace in the car anyway. So we'll see what he's able to do from there. But I'll tell you what, Gary Wellman, car's a bit beat up, car's on old tyres. It's going to be feeling like an absolute pig, and you got Dyson behind you on fresh boots.
And you've got Wellman starting it with the restart zone, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So, of all the guys, it's not often that you say, of all the guys in the field on the lead lap, I wouldn't want to be in the leader's shoes, but I'm feeling that way right now, I've got to be honest.
Probably the bigger disadvantage is going to be for Daniel, who's going to be behind. I think we can all agree that Wellman's going to be a little slow off the mark, and poor old Daniel's going to be right behind him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have that problem anywhere, though, here's the place you want to have it, because you've got the big dog leg you can use. So potentially he'll be able to jump out from behind him fairly quickly. But you never know, you know, Wellman might make a great fist of this and might get away really well because...
I hope so, absolutely. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, being there on the inside, you kind of have a bit of an advantage here almost more than anywhere else. So we'll see what he's able to do, and hopefully he doesn't make any errors. It's going to be tricky.
Look at Dyson holding him down.
Oh, yeah. Don't you worry about that.
Oh,
there he goes.
And off he's gone. Good start by Wellman.
He's not game to take the dog leg, though, with those worn tyres. You got Dyson, Heddershide shooting through. Heddershide straight to the front. Dyso's going to try and do a bit of under-over on him. Heddershide's wise to that, cuts down. Wellman's in all sorts up the top, brushes the wall, but he's hanging on to it okay, which is all you can ask from him, really. Now, Heddershide's leading the way, and he's got Dyso right behind him. So let's see what happens as these tyres burn off, whether or not there's that aero advantage.
Caution flag is out.
All right, so who was that one?
Nankervis was definitely involved. There was a few cars got together by the look of it, trying to get control. A bit of touching, that was all. No major mistakes.
Yeah, it looks like Nankervis and Johnson actually touching. Hard to tell there, but it looks as though there's definitely contact between them. Where you put the blame, I'm not sure, but there's definitely contact between those two.
Yeah, contact between Daniel Johnson and Nankervis, and then the 06 of Phelps also had a little bit of contact in that one. Everybody avoided it pretty well, though, luckily, so nobody got a huge amount of damage. It's just going to reset everybody for less laps to the sprint to the end, and going to mean Heddershide's going to get the restart now.
Yeah, and the one thing that Dyso sort of got in his favour there, because as we know that the inside line, the leader in particular, tends to get away pretty well here. So you'd expect Heddershide to get away in the lead, but at the same time, Dyson hasn't got like another Natari car there that, you know, he could be communicating with Heddershide and get away just as well. He's got his teammate, Stephen Williams, sat in there behind Heddershide. So at least he's got a friend. At least he's got somebody that he doesn't really have to worry about running into him or, you know, really trying to be super aggressive with him, cutting the dog leg or something. You know, they're still going to race each other, but at the same time, they're not going to be really nasty to each other, which is something that can happen at this stage of the race. Then you've got Stent in behind, you've got McKenzie and Bradker, and all these names that we've been mentioning all night as being the guys who've been sort of central to the action. Looks like the vast majority of them are still in contention now. How's it going to turn out? I don't know.
It's going to be a good dust up to the end. We've still got 18 cars on the lead lap as well tonight. So that's 18 people with a chance of winning as well if the chaos happens again. Maxi Marshall just getting the lucky dog. He's going to be one lap down after this. So working his way nicely up throughout the field. Just looking at big movers and shakers in the race. The biggest mover so far is Gary Wellman in 7th position. He's having a solid run up there, but he is on those old tyres. It must feel like the axe is just hovering above his neck as he's on the gallows.
Yeah, it's going to be... Yeah, I'm not sure how many people have been beheaded on gallows, mate. But anyway, we'll leave that mixed metaphor for another time. but yeah, certainly he's... he's just hanging on now, isn't he? He's just trying to hang on as best as he can. He'd be thrilled to see the race finish with a whole bunch of cautions, so he can't really drop any further because it's such a big disadvantage being on the old tyres. We've seen that all night, and he's just hanging on the best he possibly can. He was right up by the wall earlier on with about 3 or 4 cars underneath him, and he was just hanging on, skating that thing. So, he's just going to... He can only do what he can. The race is pretty much going to be fought out, I think, between the top 5 or 6. I think the winner's going to come from one of those. I know how good Daiso is around here. I know how good Hedderscheid is around here. They're both very, very good at this track. So those two would probably be my pick. But let's not discount Williams or Stent or McKenzie or Bradkey. They've all shown good pace at various points tonight. So if they can turn it on again for this final run to the flag, it could be anyone's.
Yeah, I would not like to guarantee a victor here tonight because we've seen so much going on, but we've not seen a huge amount of cars with terminal damage at least. So that's one good thing, and a little bit of a surprise here at Phoenix as well, because usually when we see them turning on that back straight, those 2 concrete walls either side of you, and not much room to avoid it, and usually that ends with a lot of damage to the front end. So people have gotten very lucky tonight. This final run is going to be something to watch out for, I feel.
Yeah, the avoidance has been pretty good, like for the guys actually avoiding those wrecks tonight. Has been pretty good. There's been a couple of dudes running too hot and T-bone dudes, but apart from that, it's actually been pretty okay. So look at these two. Look at these two in the front row. Look at these two in the front row. They're getting a bit of push on. I love it. More of it. More of that, please.
Rubbing is racing up the front.
Rubbing is pacing, mate. Never mind that. All right, Hedderscheid away. Dyson sticking to his outside. Daiso actually got away really well for an outside car there. And he's taken a lot of dog leg there. Hedderscheid's having none of it. Sprints back to the outside, trying to manage that momentum. And he's got a big run coming around the outside. Hedderscheid's going to try and move up to cut that off. I'm not sure he's going to be able to. He has. Daiso's got so much speed in that car, though, gives a quick rattle on the rear end of that Mustang and does manage to get to the bottom. But you can fight on the outside here. Hedderscheid's just washing up the track a little bit, using it all, and gets a bit of a wiggle on too, which has allowed Daiso probably to claim this lead, which he does do. Come on, Daniel. Give him a shot in the rear. He almost does. Yeah, he's trying to unsettle him. There he goes. This is fantastic Phoenix racing as Williams gets a lose and gathers it up. But these two are on it. Look at it.
Just about to say, it's a mirror incident just behind between Stent and Williams. Very close racing behind there. So this is fantastic stuff. That little bit of bump and run going on for these final stages. These guys want to get that win underneath their belt.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a bit of bumping. It works really well here, trying to unsettle the drive off the corner of the car in front. That's why they do it. They're not trying to spin them out. As Urquio's gone into the inside fence, we'll see if that brings a caution. Hedderscheid rattling on the back bumper of Dyson again. Just trying, yeah, it has brought the caution. Just trying to actually break the rear end of that car loose so Daiso can't get the power down. That's what he's trying to do. Not trying to push him out of the race. He's just trying to give him a little bit less rear end traction to work with. And I love that about this place. I love the fact that you can do that as the pace car's getting a bit of a drift onto around there, just catching the front. That's pretty intense, but we might need to go back and have a quick look at what happened with Urquio there, because it looks as though he's had another lose. I'm not sure if there was contact in it. Doesn't look like anyone's going to touch him.
It looks like he's just had a big tail slide and he's gone into the wall heavily, unfortunately, and broken the left front suspension arm. And that is his, probably his night over and done with now for sure.
It's munted. Yeah, he's absolutely munted the front of that thing. That's not coming back. So not in the laps that we've got to go. Brenton Henderson's also taken that car behind the wall as well, so he's done for the evening. But how good was that racing there at the front? That was fantastic stuff. That was it's great. Love it. I love the bumping and everything that you get in stock car racing, and Phoenix is really good for it as well. You can really get a lot of benefit out of doing it here, and that was fantastic.
That's the beauty of stock car racing. You get to have that little bit more aggression out there. You can actually enjoy yourselves, and as you say, it's not about wrecking the guy in front of you, but it is about unsettling them. And it is a real skill to have to one, be able to do it, and the other thing is to hold the car in front of you. And these guys up the front have got that skill in heaps and droves, and it's shaping up to be a fantastic last couple of laps here at Phoenix for the Southwell Lifts and Hoists 200.
Yeah, just trying to, obviously commentating, you're supposed to, sort of be quite objective, but sort of speaking personally here, we've got the race going on between Dyson, who's one of my absolute favourite rivals on the racetrack, and we've got Hedderscheid, who's obviously my teammate and somebody that I like to see do well, and we've got Stent in there as well. So, certainly a lot of... a lot of good feeling towards the guys that are up there in the top three spots at the moment. Mackenzie, he's obviously been good all night. He's had his ups and downs, and he's managed to get himself right back there in the mix on what I'm fairly sure is even ties with everybody else. And we got Bradker there and Johnson, guys who run strong all night. So I can't wait to see how this one turns out. All right, so I think as well, the one thing to remember is that if this race does get a caution, it looks like it's going to finish under caution. We've actually got 2 green-white checkers there, which we can use to try and get a green flag finish out of it too. So that could change things up. So, a lot to play for. Yeah, it's still, you get down to this stage of the race, this close to the end after, what have we done, 188 laps, and we still don't know who's going to win. We still don't know who it's going to be. It could be any one of really anybody who's on the lead lap, but realistically, you'd say it's probably going to come from the top 6. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, there's an outside chance it could be one of 18 drivers who are on the lead lap. Maxi Marshall getting his lap back. He's been just chugging along after a rough early start to the race for Marshall. We saw him having a big contact. But he's got the car back up there, back on the lead lap, and that's going to be good for him. And there's just so many in the midfield that are looking forward to this. The pace car is pulling in now. The long walk to the restart zone now for Dyson and Hedderscheid. Well,
we're going to get any rubbing
again.
Are we going to get any rubbing between them? Come on, boys. Get the fenders out. Get the doors into each other, guys. Come on.
I don't think Stent can be any closer without being inside of the 41 of Dyson as they come to the restart zone now. Dyson on the inside, Hedderscheid on the outside, Stent, Mackenzie behind him. We go back to green flag racing here at Phoenix.
Yeah, Dyson away real well there, wasn't he, from pole? Left the 2 boys behind him absolutely standing. But, they're going to have to regroup themselves and kind of get themselves sorted out if anyone's going to get after him because... with only sort of 6 laps to go now, they can't afford to be fighting each other. They've got to try and get on the back of that 41.
Yeah, absolutely. And the 2 teammates there of Stent and Hedderscheid, they're sort of thinking about that. And watch out for Mackenzie. He's coming back at them now. It looked like he was going to fall back a little bit. He's managed to get the car back in the right place for momentum. Bracker as well, moving up nicely. Bracker up, trying his best to get past Toby Stent. This race is full on. We've got 5 laps remaining here at Phoenix. Dyson has got the lead.
Hedderscheid's coming. He's coming. He's catching him down. And Stent and Mackenzie being side by side, they're kind of ruling themselves out. They're not going to catch these 2. Hedderscheid is sending it into the corners like nothing else. He's so late. And he's gone for the big cut underneath down on the dog leg. Is he going to be able to get any overlap there? It looks like he almost might. Not quite. Dyso's just managed to hold on, keeping that slightly wider line around the outside. Is Hedderscheid going to lay the bumper in? Of course he is, if he can get there. Not too long to go now.
No, we are really closing up now. And look at the pressure Heddershide is applying to Dyson. He is all over the back of him at the moment. Dyson will look in his mirrors and all he will see is the 0.35 of Daniel Heddershide right behind him. Heddershide really trying to lunge into those corners to get that overlap.
He's trying to rattle his cage. He's trying to rattle his cage, all right. Look at this. It's so hard to get the power down there on the inside line, though. We've got Simon Heddershide spinning off this time.
And he's managed to keep it going. Looks like we're going to keep green flag racing here. And this is fantastic. Fighting up the front, 3 laps to go. It's getting very close to the end here.
Yeah, it definitely is. Heddershide, I'm not sure if he's got anything left. He's certainly got the corner entries there, but he seems to be suffering a little bit on exit pace as a result, though he's really rattling the cage, rattling the back end of that number 41. And yeah, more of it, boys. More of it.
Yeah, Daniel Heddershide's car, usually red and white, but now it's got a big orange streak across the front bumper as he is really pushing on the back of Dyson, trying his best to unsettle that car where he can, trying to get the lunges in the entry to the corner. He is really going for it, but Dyson seems to have it at the moment.
White flag this time by. It's going to be 1 lap to go as they cross the stripe this time by. Has Heddershide got anything left? Oh, there's a big wreck behind Ruben Phelps. Ruben Phelps gone into the side of Stephen Williams there. Have we got a yellow?
We have not got a caution flag out. It looks like the white will fly.
The white flag is gone. This is the last chance. Heddershide, you think if he's going to get it done, it's going to be on corner entry. He's been mighty on the entries. And here he is again, but this is pretty much his last shot at it. He's not going to get quite close enough, or is he? Yeah, it's going to be very, very hard for him to get it done in 3 and 4. But tell you what, if we got the caution there, it could have been different. He's going to give him a hit. Is he going to give him a hit? Oh, he tries to get there, and he's not going to be able to do it. Daiso, he's got to take a well-deserved victory there, and just ahead of Heddershide. Mackenzie in 3rd place. Great recovery from him. Dent P4. Bradker recovering to P5. Great stuff.
Absolute close finish there. 0.131 between Heddershide and Dyson. They were real nose to tail at the end. Great drive from Mackenzie tonight. He's been strong all night and got a solid run up there into P3. Toby Sent comes home 4th. He started 4th. He's going to finish 4th. Russell Bracker will come home in 5th position. Good run for him. Stevie Delbert comes home 6th after we saw him point in the wrong direction. He's managed to bring it home in 6th position. Jamie Nankervis is the biggest mover and shaker of the race, up 20 positions in P7. Maddie Ray comes home in 8th place. Daniel Johnson 9th. Adam Ariel in 10th.
Man, that was fun. That was just fun. Like, pleasure to commentate on. Would have been great to be in, I think, as well. And I'm hoping everybody watching enjoyed that, because that was just a fun race, straight up.
I think if they didn't enjoy that ending, Ed, they'll probably die during the broadcast.
Yeah, I think they may have done, but that was absolutely fantastic. So we see Daiso down there at the moment, just popping the victory burnouts. I think there's about 3 or 4 guys who could almost say that they deserve to be able to go out there and do them with them, because they contributed so much to this race. But of course, that is the right of the winner, to go down there and paint some nice black lines, and Daiso just shooting into that little gap in the pit wall there and head back towards victory lane. So, all right, just looking at the results here. Carlos, you want to run us through?
Yeah, absolutely. So, once again, as Andrew Dyson finds his way into pit lane, it's Andrew Dyson taking victory here tonight for the Southwell Lift and Hoist 200, doing good for the titles. One of the sponsors on his car. Daniel Heddershide will come home in 2nd. Darren McKenzie in 3rd with Toby Sent 4th. 5th is Bratko with Stevie Dubb in 6th. 7th was Nankervis. Maddie Ray 8th. 9th for Johnson. Adam Ariel in 10th. As we roll over the page, it was Simon Heddershide having a late moment, but he comes home in 11th place with Brad Fenley in a solid 12th spot. Ruben Phelps in 13th. Unlucky for Simon, unlucky for him tonight. 14th was Tristan Koch with Kobe Jordan 15th. 16th was Maxi Marshall, working his way back onto the lead lap and gaining some positions at the end. Adam Malone was 17th. 18th for Gary Wellman, stuck out on those old tyres. He had nowhere to go. 19th for Nathan Button. Jake Savington comes home in 20th. 21st was Norman Clark with Urquio in 22nd. Drady came home 23rd with Smith in 24th spot. 25th was Henderson. Campbell 26th. 27th for Jai Schultz. May in 28th. 29th for Tompkins. Cheatham in 30th. 31st was Aidan Schultz, and Derek Jacobs didn't take the start.
And what a race. What a race. I mean, the season has started off here brilliantly. it started off everywhere brilliantly. I think, that was genuinely awesome. Can't wait to bring up the winners for a little bit of a chat, because that was. I'd love to hear what it was like from behind the steering wheel, because that was just looked absolutely mad.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we'll do is I'll leave the post-race chat up to you if you like, and I'll bring up Darren McKenzie, our third place man.
All right, sounds good. Let's bring him in, have a chat. Darren McKenzie, mate, that was a bit up and down, man, but you came back strong. Talk us through that.
Well, once I found my pit bay, things started going all right. I think it was at the first pit stops, I totally could not find my pit bay. So I did 76 laps on my first set of tyres. And
right.
It sort of all came together.
Yeah, that was just like we were trying to figure out, because one of the things we don't really are able to get sort of info for is how many tyre sets that everyone's got left. It's almost something we've got to try and count manually, and we're trying to work out how many sets of tyres you had versus the other guys, and we saw you stay out a couple of times and drop back a little bit and then come back down, and you're kind of off sequence with a lot of the guys through much of the race. But at the same time, even when you had the equal tyres to everybody else, there was a lot of pace in that car, but it seemed to us at the very least that those rear tyres were suffering on your car in particular. I saw a couple of big moments.
Yeah, I figured there's going to be quite a few cautions, and I'd saved enough tyres when I mucked up the first 80 laps. So, yeah, I was just driving in fourth, driving it hard. I knew I had tyres for a good 20, 25, 30 laps, and then they'd fall off, but kind of all worked out at the end.
So one of the things that we sort of covered quite early in the race, actually, of course, you're a former champion of this series. You won it in 2021. And being a consistency-based sort of series the way this is, it's a straight points championship. There's no chase, no playoffs, none of that stuff to worry about. It's very much about sort of kicking in those consistent results week after week after week. And we saw that was how you got the 2021 title, and this has sort of started you out really well as well. So how are you sort of feeling about that?
It's always good to get a good start in round one. I think the year I won the championship, it was a 1 or 2 race wins that I had for the season out of 35 races. So it's if you are a consistent winner, yes, you're gonna get that lead and pull away from everyone. But if it's different winners every week, consistency is going to keep you in the running. So
absolutely, definitely. Well, mate, you've had a fantastic few performances in just about everything you've turned your hand to for the last couple of weeks since the stock car stuff has sort of kicked off in our part of the world. So how are you sort of finding that? You know, you're in a good run of form. You've obviously got your teammate there, Malone, who's been pacey as well. Like, how are you sort of finding the team dynamic at the moment, and how that all sort of feels for you guys?
Oh, it's been great this year. I've decided, to concentrate on the oval side of things, like road courses. Yeah, I'm average pace, but I can't seem to get any better there. So I'll stick to what I'm actually good at. Well, I think I'm good at. But I'll concentrate on ovals this year and put in a good crack for all the leagues. What do we got? ASCC, Weekend Warriors, the Oz Truck Series on Tuesday night. So yeah, it's 4 or 5 nights a week I'm racing ovals now.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that doesn't kick you towards the front, nothing will, mate. I can't say that you haven't got any practice in. So with all those race nights and all those commitments. But anyway, great to see you back up the front yet again. I guess before we let you go, the traditional sort of shout-outs and all that kind of stuff.
We've got sponsors for the team, SkyPoint, Mish's XL Garage, Tiona Holiday Park, and all the guys at Southern Stars Esports. Great racing with them each week, and Adam just needs a bit of luck, and he's going to be up there in the results as well. I think he's just had a bit of bad luck getting caught up in stuff. So look out for the 3-car as well. Fantastic.
All right, everyone. So that was Darren McKenzie, your third place getter tonight. Really solid run from him. And we might actually just bring in Daniel Hedderscheid, who is our second place getter, while we wait for the winner to grace us with his presence. He's still down in there with his teammate at the moment, I think I can say, but Daniel Hederscheid, second place getter, so close to a P1. I'm not sure that there's any paint left on that front bumper. Daniel, talk us through that.
Oh man, how good was that? Like, I'm never really happy with the P2, but those last 10, 15 laps were just, I was on the edge of my seat trying to hold onto the car and not push Dyson around too much. Like, I wanted to unsettle him, but we all know how good he is and he's a hard man to beat. So, yeah, it wasn't the win, but it was a extremely fun race there at the end.
Yeah, well, take my advice. Go back and watch the last few laps on the broadcast, mate, because we were on the rev limiter, I think, just as much as you guys would have been. But we saw a little bit of that, a little bit of that contact and stuff. But of course, there was 150, 60 laps that happened sort of before all of that kicked off. Seemed to be a lot of differing ideas amongst the pack of when the best time to come in and use those tyre sets was. How are you working through that?
Yeah, well, we sort of knew coming into this race. It was a long race. We only had 4 extra sets of tyres, so it was going to be... And there was going to be a lot of cautions because the tyre wear was harsh. Like, if you didn't use your tyres right, your car was on skates at about lap 15, 20, so knew there was going to be cautions constantly, and it was just going to be pick your battles, choose when to get the tyres at the right time, choose when to push at the right time. Like, a lot of that race, me and Toby were sort of working together just to save the tyres. You could probably see everyone fly past us at every restart. And it would come back to us, but then obviously a caution would come out. So, yeah, it was just a bit of luck, a bit of gambling, and, a bit of skill.
It looked like a really hard job to sort of pick it. I mean, myself and Brad were talking after a lot of the rounds of pit stops, sort of saying, what would you have done there? What do you think? What do you think in terms of what everyone had done? And it seemed everyone seemed to have a bit of an idea, a bit of a different idea about how to do it. And, kind of, we had our comers and goers throughout the race as that sort of became a thing. One of the things that we did see is, despite the various tyre wear, it did seem to be much of the same 5 or 6 blokes in around the front, sort of running together, so that it wasn't even as though that you guys seem to be suffering as much as some of the others on the older rubber. And, we also saw Simon up there matching it with you, which you don't see all that often, with him sort of running close to tail with you. So that was great to see both the Hederscheids up there.
Yeah, how good was that? I was trying to sort of coach him through. I was just stick behind us, keep your tyres. If you're going faster than us, you're burning your tyres, and you're not gonna have a good time later on. And he obviously took the advice. Unfortunately, late in that race there, I think he looped it a bit, but I mean, he made it a long way running up the front with us. So he's definitely improving. Got a lot of pace in that car. So. And yeah, me and Toby seem to have a lot of pace tonight. Daiso, obviously, is Daiso.
He's got pace everywhere. You don't got to worry about that.
Yeah. We know he's so good around Phoenix, so it's one of my better tracks too. So, but gutted to not come away with the win. But yeah, it was cool. Like, I had the pace there to win it. We managed to get the strategy basically right. It seemed to work out pretty even in the end. I mean, at one point, Daiso was flying back through the pack with old tyres, and we were coming through, and then vice versa. And yeah, it was a real mind games race, to be honest. It was physical. I've got sweat dripping off my forehead. It was wicked.
Oh, well, give us some shout-outs, mate, and then go get yourself a drink. How about that?
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, shout-out to AJD, Fully Floored, and Turbo Alpha Japan, and the guys in Discord with us, all the Natari boys. You guys for jumping in the commentary. It's probably hard sitting there watching us race, but yeah, it's awesome.
All right, fantastic. Well, guys, that Daniel Hederscheid, your second place getter tonight. So fantastic run from him. Great job. Came so close to the victory right there at the end. But speaking of the victory, we'll probably have a bit of a chat to our winner, Andrew Dyson. We're going to drag him up. Here he is. Any paint left on that bumper, Dyson?
Throw a bit of white and red on it, but they're our colours anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, anyway, mate, talk us through that one. There seemed to be a lot of up and down, a lot of people we've spoken to the other boys about it so far, just sort of the differing tyre strategies, the way that people were kind of managing that race, guys coming forwards, guys going backwards, wrecks, bumping. Talk us through it from your perspective.
Well, the first part of the race, it was kind of interesting because we were all cruising around and everyone was running their own race, and some dudes were taking it easy, some guys were going hard. I love that sort of stuff. It's really interesting, especially if there's long runs, but it wasn't to be, so it all kind of shook out after that. And then from then on, it felt like we were kind of playing checkers with tyres. But at the end of the race, it all ended up being that we're in the same spot of the road with the same tyres anyway. So kind of big, long roundabout way to get there, but we're all in the same spot with 20 laps to go anyway. And yeah, it was good fun.
It was kind of about 150 laps worth of waste of time, just to get everybody on the same tyres at the end. You may as well have just had a 20 lapper or something like that. But yeah, those last few laps were absolutely brilliant. Talk us through that, because obviously you started behind Heddershide on one of those late restarts. You had to get that move done. You did get that move done, just sort of managing that momentum through the dog leg and everything else, and getting a bit of a switchback and getting that done. And then, of course, you had him absolutely hammering on your rear bumper for the last few laps.
Yeah, well, before all that, I think I started on the outside of Gary Lyman, so that didn't help, and then he got in front of me. So I was really trying to get the best start I could on the outside of Gary, but Daniel had the inside, and he got the good run, got to the inside with 3 wide into turn 1 or whatever the hell it's called these days, and yeah, he got it done. So from there, it was a bit of a battle, but seriously, like, it could have been any one of us that could have taken that, like either him or me, or even a few guys behind, like Toby, Steve. How about his form lately? Darren, who else was there? Geez, Adam Malone. He had a great night tonight. But yeah, Daniel's obviously really good at this track in particular. But when it comes to most times you race with Daniel, he's really good at racing close. And as my dog chews my internet lead. Yeah, he's really good at racing close, and he can pretty much race bumper to bumper, door to door, and rub paint and do all those things and have a good time of it. So yeah, it could have been either he or I that got the win tonight in that particular battle, as my dog continues to chew my internet cable.
All right, well, we won't keep you too long before your internet goes down completely. But yeah, we saw a little bit of close racing and close pacing there, a little bit of door rubbing there on the way to one of the green flags, which was good. We were enjoying a bit of that. But yeah, fantastic race in the end, mate. Congratulations on the win. Obviously, take your opportunity to get the shout-outs and sponsor love done, and then you can go sort your dog out.
Yeah, no, I can reach him from here, so it's all right. Yeah, I'll just thanks to all the guys for showing up tonight, having a good race. Southwell's for getting behind the race, get around those dudes. They'll build you a big lift and do all sorts of things, and yeah, check it out, whatever if you want. Who cares if you don't? And yeah, thanks to all you guys for doing the broadcast, Mark on the league, and everyone else who helps out with it all. And yeah, quick one just to Simrig, Spamax, Phoenix, Neil for the paints, and yeah, looking forward to the next race.
All right, fantastic. Well, there you go, guys. Well-deserved winner, Andrew Dyson there. Off to sort his dog out before it absolutely ruins everything for him. Car had, like they were going to burn off if you abused them, and there are a lot of guys that sort of overstepped that mark and wasn't able to do too much with it. But at the same time, they all got home. A lot of guys managed to get to the end. There was too many retirements, and it gave us a really exciting finish. So what more can you ask for?
Oh, absolutely. It gave us a great grandstand finish. And if you're looking for some more action on the ovals here on Checkered Flag e-streaming, we've got the trucks coming up on Monday night at Atlanta for 110 laps, a slightly different car, but all the action that you saw tonight we should hopefully have in Atlanta. And then next week, we're going to be heading off to Kentucky for 200 laps here of the Lucas Oil's Australian Stock Car Championships for round number 2 of the season here on Checkered Flag e-streaming. We do hope you can join us for all of the next coming action. Of course, a big thank you tonight to, Edward Foster. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure having you in the booth, mate.
Yeah, it was fun, mate. Enjoyed it. Obviously, having raced this series full time last year, decided to kind of step back and try and enjoy a little bit more life outside of sim racing. So I'm not racing that much, but definitely enjoyed jumping in here with you guys and calling what turned out to be a really good race.
Eddie, if I'm right, you actually won this race last year, didn't you?
I can't actually remember this particular race. The season, yes, but I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell you which races they were.
Little bird told me you were actually the reigning champion of this track from last season.
Okay, well, it's quite unusual for me to have a good result at Phoenix, so I'll take that with a grain of salt. But definitely enjoyed running in the series last year and had a great time with it. But enjoying sort of sitting there watching it now with you guys and being able to jump in and have a little bit to do with the broadcast as well is fun as well to do on occasion. So all good fun.
Absolutely. And of course, Brad, thank you so much for tonight. It's always a pleasure having you in the booth as well, mate. And especially we love seeing you out on track. Having you here giving us all the commentary needs is always a pleasure.
Well, I was just trying to keep quiet. I was enjoying Ed's commentary, to be honest. I loved it. It was added to the excitement. It was brilliant. I thank Ed and thank you. And thank Mark, of course.
Well, that's it. Next one on the list is Mark Johansson. Mark, thank you so much for all the hard work you put in the background, getting everything working tonight. We will be back with you on Monday night for Checkered Flag e-streaming and, of course, next Saturday. But for myself, Carl Wilkinson, we'll wish you a good night and see you then. Bye-bye.